Alright, you and I are diving into a world where your color determines if you are a god or trash. The colorless face constant hate. Black was seen as the mark of monsters, feared by every single soul. Everything flipped when one guy accidentally awakened that forbidden shade. His body became harder than tempered steel. He could shatter a beast's fangs just by standing there, but he also unlocked a terrifying essence-draining art. He could literally steal the colors of others, turning the arrogant elite into nothing more than his prey. Born with zero color, young K had to script fight just to survive since he was a kid. High risk meant high reward. He just wanted a quiet life, but some people had much darker. They wanted his companion in his life. Since he was colorless, nobody would even blink if he vanished forever. Now watch this. They totally screwed up by accidentally waking the most dangerous monster in existence. K was strong enough to level the world. Deep inside a murky cave, he tracked every single falling drop. As the liquid leaked from the stone, he cheered, "I found it! Ink!" After bottling the blue liquid, K looked at the black cat on his shoulder and whispered, "Thanks, Nero. I never would have found this without your help." Stepping into the sunlight, a bold thought crossed his mind. If I deliver this, the scouts must finally accept me. He stared at the shimmering city on the horizon. Hope filled his heart. Downtown, the streets buzzed with people laughing and hanging out in huge groups. "Everyone, give it up for our color mixers." Fans roared with praise at their incredibly bright, vibrant colors. "Man, they are so cool, right?" Someone else yelled out, "You are damn right they are." Rumor says they crushed a massive beast. Everyone truly believed these guys were worthy of their legendary titles. With mixers on, the city felt invincible. But back in the gritty Shadow District, life stayed brutal. Suddenly, K was booted to the pavement and tossed right out of the recruitment center. A voice screamed, "Get lost!" The terrifying guard roared, "How many times do I have to say? Trash like you does not belong here. All that work for the ink just to be treated like garbage." Fuming, K gripped the bottle and yelled, "Why, I brought exactly what you asked for. You and I both know he earned this, right?" But the guard just rolled his eyes, totally annoyed. "You need me to spell it out?" He glared at K and hissed, "It is because you are a pathetic colorless." K froze, paralyzed by the sting. People have fixed roles, yet every now and then some trash appears. "Forget your place and you pay." The guard snarled, "Listen up, you useless colorless brat." Suddenly, a wave of red pressure blasted K back. He screamed in agony as the elites watched him fall. They glared down with pure disgust, reminding him that being an explorer was only for the chosen ones. People like us. They mocked him, saying a weakling would never last a day in the Black Lands. Out in those lands, the dark is so thick you cannot even see your own hand. In that endless night, lethal monsters are always lurking. The elite exploration squad prides itself on that risk. They claim to risk it all for loot and resources, supposedly sacrificing everything for the future of humanity. All for the hero worship. One guard turned to walk away, threw one last nasty insult back. "That is why colorless trash cannot handle it. Go find some pathetic job for your—" He screamed, "Do not ever show your face here again. Annoy us one more time and you are dead." Insults and curses rained down until that heavy door slammed shut, leaving K all by himself. K stood there, shocked by their cruelty. When Nero peeked his weak smile. "It is fine, Nero. There are plenty of other places to check. I am already used to this treatment." Suddenly, his eyes burned with fire. He whispered, "I am going to become the greatest color mixer alive. I made a promise after all." K quickly nudged Nero to hide in his jacket away from prying up. He moved through the crowd, determined to try his luck elsewhere. "I am not quitting yet. I have to keep pushing until the end." High above, a mysterious blue-haired man watched his every move. K had no idea he was being hunted. He stopped and pulled out a notebook to check his progress. "Trust me, you and I are about to see if K finds a way or just hits another wall. Alright, stick with me, because you're about to see how one final rejection sends our main character back to Mary's workshop." Exhausted, Kai trudged inside and called out for Mary. He just looked completely defeated. Mary looked up from her tools with a huge grin, asking why he looked so miserable and if the job hunt failed. Kai just gave a slow, painful nod. It went about as bad as you'd expect. Just then Nero the Cat poked his head out, making Mary light up at the tiny companion. She immediately got heated. "Those scouts are blind. You're way more skilled than any of those basic explorers." Kai sighed, saying they won't hire colorless people, but Mary wasn't hearing it. She knew he had real potential. She reminded him of his loot from the Black Lands, though Kai credited Nero for that survival win. Despite the rough day, he reached into his bag and offered her a rare bottle of blue ink. Mary was hyped. She promised him a solid payday before pouring the precious liquid straight into one of her machines. She ranted about the ink shortage and how prices are hitting the roof. "It's getting out of control lately. Life in the city revolves around ink." Suddenly, she turned serious and asked, "Now pay attention here." She slammed a flyer down on the table and asked if he had finally considered her crazy idea. It was a recruitment ad for an S-tier exploration squad. This was a huge shock. Kai stared. An S-ranked team? He never even dreamed of aiming that high before. He was terrified. Could a colorless guy like him actually survive in a place like that? Mary snapped him out of it, urging him to try. She told him they care about talent, not just rank. She looked him in the eye with total belief. She reminded him of his childhood dream of finally becoming a color mixer. A flash of his younger self in the rain appeared. Mary promised to always have his back. Her support reignited his fire. He had been so down, but now his eyes were shining again. Feeling worthless was a thing of the past. Thanks to her, Kai stood tall with a brand new smile. He grabbed the Dawnbreaker application, thanked Mary, and headed out. It was now or never. "See you later, Mary," she waved back, telling him to stay safe out there. Walking through the empty alleys, Kai knew he had to rush before the sign-up deadline passed him by. Suddenly, Nero let out a low, dangerous growls. "Wait, what's wrong, buddy?" Out of nowhere, a green-haired stranger with ice-cold eyes stepped from the shadows. He gripped a glowing blue blade and swung, sending a lethal wind slash straight at Kai's chest. Kai's eyes went wide as the impact sent him flying back with a scream of pain. Kai collapsed, his mind spinning. But pay attention here, because this is where things get really dark. The assassin sneered, shocked a colorless trash like him survived. His partner just said he'll be dead soon. Who cares if a colorless vanishes? With his last bit of breath, Kai whispered for Nero to run. They dragged his body to a forbidden zone surrounded by pipes. Ink waste disposal area. Kai groaned as he woke up. The psycho laughed. Look who's awake. Too bad for you, it's time for you to take a dip down there. He dragged him to the edge of an ink waste pit. One drop of that mixed sludge is instant death. He smirked, explaining that anyone who falls in will literally dissolve without leaving a single trace behind. In total agony, who are you guys? Kai roared in pure anger. Why the hell are you guys doing this to me? The leader gave a twisted smile, saying they were actually surprised today too. He never expected to find treasure in Shadow Street. An intelligent monster following a human is an extremely rare sight. Kai screamed Nero's name as he saw his friend trapped behind bars. He used every ounce of strength to punch the villain's hand, but it didn't even leave a scratch. The guy just mocked him, saying a worthless colorless like him can't do anything but watch him lose. He eyed Nero greedily, planning to sell him for a fortune since a colorless loser's are dozens of him. We need to see what happened. Alright, you and I are starting with K cursing his own stupidity for letting his guard down in the back streets. He was used to the trash treatment and constant disrespect, but watching those thugs drag Nero away, that was the final straw. Nero was his only family, as K glared at those bastards with pure unadulterated hatred. The second K grabbed his opponent, a surge of creepy dark energy erupted. The blue-haired thug's face instantly twisted in terror. What is this? Something is pulling me in. K was suddenly swallowed by a terrifying black shroud, making the blue-haired thug shriek in pure disgust. Disgusting. The thug shoved K away with all his might, sending him tumbling straight into a pit of ink waste. He just brushed off his hands like it was nothing, completely ignoring Nero's heartbreaking cries for help. The thugs laughed, gloating about how rich they'd be once they hit the black market with their prize. They vanished with Nero without a second thought. Meanwhile, in the murky depths of the trash pit, K felt himself sinking. His only thought was saving Nero, but his body was a dead weight. He couldn't move a single. Was it really going to end in such a pathetic way? As life faded, flashes of Mary flickered in his mind. Every memory with Nero played back like a movie. No, he still had a promise to keep from that day. Out of the darkness, a mysterious voice echoed inside his head. K, why are you just standing there? What are you doing? Confused, he wondered who was speaking. The voice pushed him harder, telling him to get up and do what he must. Now pay attention, because this is where the monster inside wakes up. Don't hesitate, save Nero right now. A shadow beckoned him to embrace his true power. His eyes ignited as the voice roared, reclaim your colors now. A massive burst of ink energy exploded, and a powerful hand reached up from the very bottom of the pit. Suddenly, K found himself in a strange white void. He stood there dazed, wondering what the hell just happened. He was just in the ink. Staring at his pitch-black hands, he struggled to remember anything after that moment. More importantly, who was he? He drifted through a sea of doubt, questioning his own identity and his purpose. Suddenly, Nero's familiar snapped him back to reality. He spotted those two trash bags off in the distance. They were carrying Nero's cage. In that moment, he realized his only goal. Nero was right there, waiting for him. I have to save Nero. Instantly, a black hand surged forward as a massive pillar of ink erupted. Swirling like a cyclone, it forced the terrified assassins back. What is this? What the hell is going on? You and I both know karma is a beast, and these guys are about to learn that lesson the hard way. A terrifying silhouette emerged from the smoke, paralyzing them with fear before something unidentified lunged out at them. The blue-haired guy's eyes widened in horror, cold sweat pouring down his face.
No, this can't be real!
Is that a monster? A gargantuan hand of pure shadows tore toward them at an insane speed. They never even understood what hit them. Talk about reaping what you sow. Now the scene is just a wasteland. Through the smoke, a panicked witness screamed to a cop about a giant hand that suddenly appeared out of nowhere. It turned the whole area into a war zone. The officer took notes, sounding pretty skeptical about the whole thing. Yeah, I am positive, sir. Meanwhile, medics were hauling away a gray lifeless body on a stretcher nearby. Watching from the side, Captain Red noted how lucky it was that only 2 people were actually killed. Eli added that both victims were just B-rank pathfinders. Their reputations weren't exactly great to begin with. She stared at the colorless corpse, baffled by whatever could have sucked all the pigment right out of a human being. Captain Red hummed, agreeing it was weird, but they had bigger fish to fry at the moment. A massive beast had appeared in the city. When the cop realized who they were, his jaw dropped. You are a painter. To him, it was like meeting a superstar. He immediately bowed with deep respect. It is an honor, sir. I am the lead officer here. Why would famous people like you visit the back streets? Captain Red just told him to relax and keep it cool. We are here to investigate that monster report. Can you lead us to the primary impact site? The officer scrambled to lead them deeper into the ruins, stuttering out a quick yes, of course. Right this way. Standing before the wreckage, Captain Red looked around. There were definitely monster tracks here. Eli looked confused since they tracked every large-scale beast in the area. Trust me, this mystery goes way deeper than a simple monster attack. Something very strange is happening in this city. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where city pests like rats and birds are considered tiny. Usually harmless, right? But she fears a new mutation has surfaced until Captain Red tells her to chill. No time for guessing, we need to track this beast. The two look like ants in the wasteland. Pipes are twisted and concrete is crushed for miles. It looks like a war zone out here, honestly. They can't even fathom how massive a monster would have to be to cause this much chaos. Suddenly, Nero's cry cuts through the air. Kay wakes up groggy, barely whispering his little buddy's name. He feels Nero licking his face and pulls him into a tight hug, panicking if he's hurt. Nero is totally fine, thank God. Kay then lets out a massive sigh of relief. His friend is safe. But wait, confusion hits him like a truck. What actually happened? Why is everything destroyed like this? Then it clicks. The assassins. It was those absolute jerks who jumped him. He remembers everything now. Looking at the carnage, Kay wonders if the ink swallowed them. Suddenly he stares at his own hands. Here's where it gets scary. Stick with me. He realizes he might be the one who did this. Is this a nightmare or real life? He freezes when he notices his body finally has color. How is this even possible? But his surroundings are about to send a massive chill down your spine. It's pitch black. In this heavy darkness, he screams for Nero's help. Nero starts spinning wildly, emitting a strange glow that cuts right through the void. His body lights up like a lantern, revealing a total nightmare. Monsters are lurking everywhere in the trees. Kay realizes where he is with a shock. This is the Black Zone, the place of nightmares. City lights are way off in the distance while he's trapped in a forest only high rankers survive. Who dumped him here? How is he even alive right now? Nothing about this situation makes sense. His heart is racing as he yells to Nero that they need to find an exit immediately. Too late. A whole swarm of monsters has already surrounded them in the suffocating dark of the forest. Nero pulses with light, acting like a radar, barely dodges a few lethal swipes from the ship. Eyes are watching from every corner. Nero becomes a streak of light, leading Kay up the jagged cliffs. Let's look at this feeling he's getting. Kay is shocked because something inside him feels totally different. His body feels incredibly light. He's been sprinting for a while now but doesn't feel any fatigue. He's overflowing with energy and feels zero exhaustion. His speed and agility are on a whole other level. Power is surging through his veins as he clears massive gaps with just a single effortless leap. Suddenly, a massive beast appears right in his face. Kay freezes, realizing he's got nowhere left to run. Dang it, this is the end. He shuts his eyes tight, waiting for the monster to finish him. But he forgot how much he leveled up. The monster tries to bite him but loses its teeth. I'm totally fine. I thought I was a goner for sure. Kay stares at his hands in disgust. So this is what the power of color feels like. It's unreal, but he can't celebrate just yet. Nero screams a warning. Kay looks up and sees a massive shadow towering over his entire body. A one-eyed beast with terrifying horns appears. It's a cyclops and it looks ready to kill. Why is an apex predator from the deep forest out here? Beast lets out an earth-shaking roar. It slams its fist down, shattering the ground and sending a massive shockwave that blows everything back. Nero cries out as Kay is buried in the debris. Kay struggles to rise, but he's not. A new feeling is rising inside him. Honestly, he's actually feeling confident enough to take it on. After years of being treated like trash for being colorless, Kay's gaze finally turns sharp and deadly. Things are going to be different now. He has his color, so he's done running from anyone. Courage surges as he balls his fists. He needs to wake up that mystery power one. Focus on that sensation. Suddenly, black energy erupts from his body and his eyes start to glow. The Cyclops roars and tries to crush him, but Kay isn't just going to stand there anymore. Stick around. You and I are about to watch Kay launch into the air for an epic counterattack. Alright, you and I are about to watch Kay unleash some absolute madness with his final devastating strike. The Cyclops' massive frame rockets backward, shaking the entire forest region. Within the thick, hazy black smoke, Kay's eyes flare with power. He stands stunned, staring at a lush, vibrant green valley hidden before him. He gazes at the breathtaking scenery, a gentle stream winding through the trees. He wonders his color. As he admires the view, his dark aura suddenly turns chaotic, catch him completely off guard. Haha! A brilliant light descends. Nero flies around frantically, finding Kay buried under a pile of heavy rubble. Staring at his fading pale hands, Kay panics. My color! He has just realized a fitting harsh truth. Using power literally drains his color. He grits his teeth, and during the physical agony, he cannot go on. At the fragile boundary between life and death, that mysterious voice echoes again. What are you doing? Your food is right there. Hurry and eat. The voice points toward the beast corpse, continuing its wicked and tempting offer. Watch this part closely. The color is right before your eyes. You do not want to die, do you? Though he is gasping for air, the main character is swayed by the voice's seductive and urgent words. Unable to resist the dark whisper in his ear, Kay's hand trembles as he reaches forward. He touches the giant corpse. Instantly, ink-black energy erupts, devouring every bit of the beast. Nero stands frozen, witnessing this terrifying scene. A massive explosion of pure darkness spreads through the forest. The shadows drain the enemy life force to heal Kay. Once he finally stops, vitality returns to his body. Phew, I am alive. The workshop is focused on work. The doorbell rings, and she looks up with a bright smile. Welcome. What can I do for you today? Do you have a special request? Her question is met with nothing but a strange, heavy silence. A figure cloaked in shadows steps inside. Mary wonders if this is a robbery, and sensing something is wrong, she grows uneasy. Sir, do you realize how suspicious you look? The stranger keeps coming. Panicking, Mary grabs a massive wrench, her heart racing as she faces the threat. Stop right there. One more step and I will hit you. Suddenly, the dark figure closes the gap. Mary screams, squeezing her eyes shut. But the stranger stops and pulls back their hood, revealing a smile. Relax, Mary, it is just me. Realizing his little prank went a bit, Kay feels guilty. He scratches his head. Sorry for scaring you so much that you did not recognize me. Haha. You saw that reaction too, right? Mary can barely believe her eyes when she sees his new face. After hearing his story, she trembles with pure rage. I am absolutely furious. I will never forgive those bastards. She swings her hammer. They deserve a crushed skull. Kay tries to calm his worked-up friend down. It is all right, Mary. I already took care of them and got my revenge. She finally settles down, sighing at her weapon. You are right. I got a little carried away. I was so worried since I could not reach you. I cannot believe you went through all that. I am just glad you are safe. Kay smiles faintly. Yeah, sorry for making you worry about me. She is still stunned he survived the ink waste zone, and to think you actually gained a color. But black is the color of a monster. People will look at you with nothing but prejudice. Kay remains firm. Past. What matters is being a color mixer. He decides to focus everything on the Dawn Vanguard entrance exam, thanking Mary for her help. Can I borrow some spare clothes? I promise to return them soon. Mary sighs but agrees with a smile. Consider this an investment in a future color mixer. She excitedly pulls him along. Come with me. She sighs but agrees to help. Let us just call it an investment in a future color mixer. She excitedly grabs his hand and pulls him along. Follow me, I have the perfect outfit. She already had this prepared for him. What a thoughtful friend she is, do you not think? Dressed in new clothes, Kei and Nero head toward the massive arena where thousands are already waiting. So what do you and I think? Is he ready for what comes next? Stick with me. Candidates cannot hide their anxiety as the air grows thick with tension during the big exam. Look, you and I are jumping right into a sea of candidates all trying not to freak out. The pressure is unreal. Every single person here is desperate to join the legendary Dawn Vanguard. As an S-rank squad famous for conquering the Black Lands, every rookie here is hungry for their big break. They represent the City of Light's last hope, recruiting only the most elite and gifted color mixers in existence. But for Kei, the real nightmare was the sheer power of the rivals standing in his way. Then there's Gil, the man everyone's watching. With his monstrous power, he's basically guaranteed a spot. He can wipe out entire monster swarms alone, but the guy's total savage with a cruel streak. Booted from his last team for being a loose cannon, he's not afraid to get violent. He loves bullying the other candidates, crushing their spirit before the exam even officially begins. It's a brutal mental game, leaving the crowd whispering in fear about this walking disaster. Some rookies try to act tough to mask their terror, claiming they aren't scared at all. They say guys like Gil are nothing special, but their friends can only manage a nervous laugh. Gil overhears their desperate trash talk from the crowd and honestly, he is not impressed. He just sees a bunch of pathetic kids and feels a wave of pure disappointment. He expected more from an S-rank entrance exam. Where are the actual challengers? But wait, pay attention here, because his predatory gaze just locked onto a girl with striking blue hair. That's Allison, the second daughter of the Sean family. Gil lets out a predatory smirk. She's as impressive as the rumors suggested, finally someone worth his time and effort. While Gil sizes up the room, a booming announcement suddenly cuts through the noise. Attention candidates, the Dawn Vanguard entrance exam officially starts right now, no more waiting. The arena goes absolutely wild as a legendary color show and glowing gay hair kicks the stage. His eyes command absolute authority. To these rookies, he might as well be a literal god. Everyone is buzzing about his insane heroics in the latest monster hunts. A core member is here. The air gets heavy. You can feel the crushing pressure coming off this S-rank warrior. You and I both know how heavy that silence is for these rookies. The golden-haired legend begins his speech by thanking everyone for showing up to the trial. He scans the crowd, making it clear that he doesn't care about their money or fame. His gaze is razor-sharp. In this world, only raw skill determines whether you live or die. They only want the absolute best of the best to push into the Black Lands and reclaim territory for humanity. The goal, conquest. For this man, being average is a death sentence. He starts explaining the rules. The first test is officially a high-stakes, single-elimination tournament-style battle. This tests your survival instincts because out in the wilds, the weak are just monster food. Weakness leads to death. He bellows for everyone to prove their worth on the battlefield. Only the tournament winners move on. When they call your number, you better be ready. Number 126 is up. Gil struts onto the stage with that annoying cocky smirk. Then they call number 286. The crowd gasps. Someone is about to get wrecked. Gil grins like a maniac. Finally, things are getting interesting enough to keep him awake. He was bored to tears before, but now he's wondering exactly how to break his opponent. But as he looks at the mysterious hooded figure of number 286, Gil actually freezes. Who is this guy? His stance looks totally weak and awkward, yet he's standing perfectly still. Gil clicks his tongue in annoyance. Whatever. He slowly draws his blade, ready for the kill. He's done playing nice. With total disdain, he shouts that it's time to end this farce. No more holding back. Brilliant green energy explodes from his blade, leaving the crowd in shock. You and I can't even blink right now. Is that really the legendary wind sword technique coming from a kid that young? His sword style is terrifyingly elite. With eyes full of pure bloodlust, he roars, "Are you ready to die?" Alright, stick with me because we are about to watch Gaio stomp his foot, shattering the stage in fury. He lunged like a cyclone, his blade cutting the air into sharp glowing green streaks of divine light. Gaio closed the gap with terrifying speed, aiming right for the kid standing there like a statue. But as Gaio went for the kill, Kai threw a heavy counterpunch that caught him completely off guard. A massive explosion rocked the stage, blasting the windsword prodigy backward as the crowd gasped in shock. Complete silence fell. Gaio was literally buried in the wall, leaving a massive crater behind in the arena. That is exactly what happens when you act all high and mighty while looking down on everyone. He is getting served, right? Gaio just lay there, collapsed among the broken rubble. One hit. That is all it took to leave his body bruised and his pride totally shattered in disbelief. Even Kai was stunned, staring at his fist and thinking, "Man, you even gave me a heart attack." Panic spread through the stands like wildfire as terrified people whispered, "Wait, is my mind playing tricks on me?" Now pay attention, because when the crowd sees the color black, they realize they are looking at a monster. Eli was frozen. She could not process a human possessing a color that terrifyingly dark and unnatural. Could this mysterious black energy be the power that finished Gaio in a single heartbeat? The audience was terrified, or a beast. Kai just stood there, completely alone. Eerie black smoke still clung to his feet as the entire stadium fell into a haunting silence. Kai felt the shift in the air. Why was everyone looking at him like he was a plague? He worried he had messed up somehow, but the tournament pushed on despite the wary glares from the crowd. New challengers stepped up, but his next opponent just backed away, screaming for Kai to stay away. He summoned a massive boulder with his staff, but Kai just kept walking forward through the chaos. "I told you to stop." Desperate as his magic failed to even slow Kai down. Kai dashed through the debris and delivered another heavy blow, sending the man flying across the ring. The announcer's voice boomed over the pained cries, declaring number 286, Kai the winner. One by one, Kai systematically dismantled every challenger, forcing the referee to call his name repeatedly. Up in the VIP seats, a blonde color coordinator watched the massacre with a very thoughtful expression. "This kid is something else," he muttered, "easily the most gifted candidate in this entire batch." After watching Kai dominate, he realized this was the first person ever to wield that strange black energy. Trust me, you and I know the rumors will spread fast, so they need to recruit him now. Suddenly, Team Leader Red showed up, and the surrounding staff immediately bowed in respect and surprise. Red claimed he was just passing by, but he sighed, admitting their monster investigation was going nowhere. Finding that mysterious monster is honestly harder than climbing up to heaven, and the team is at a total dead end. The examiner tried to cheer him up, eagerly introducing the latest batch of top-tier talent. He promised great results, highlighting a girl from the Sean house and another incredibly unique fighter. But the moment Red looked down at the arena, his eyes widened as he yelled out, "Black!" The examiner smirked. "I knew you would notice. He just crushed a top-tier candidate like it was nothing." With performance levels this overwhelming, the examiner was certain that Kai would easily pass the trials. Seeing the familiar power, Eli turned to Red and asked, "Could that kid be the one?" Red nodded slowly. A new color appearing right after that strange incident? That is quite a coincidence. It is almost too perfect, Red thought. For now, we should just keep a close eye on him. The suspicion was growing, but they had to wait for the perfect chance to uncover the truth. Back on the floor, Kai looked at his hands, unable to hide his hype after winning so many rounds. This power felt amazing. He was confident that his dream of becoming a coordinator was within reach. But he had tasted failure before. Kai silently warned himself to stay focused and stay grounded. If I burn out my power like I did last time and lose my color, it is game over for me. Suddenly an ice explosion erupts, and trust me, you and I are not ready for Eli Sean. Alright, let's dive into the moment. Eli number 17 is crowned the winner. She stands totally chill beside her frozen solid opponent. Can't deny the legendary Cyan family power. It's the kind of grace you'd expect from a noble. Meanwhile, Kai is just left wondering how anyone is that good. Does he even stand a chance against a monster like her? But as they walk past, Eli suddenly stops dead. She whips around, hitting Kai with a gaze so sharp and icy it sends him into total panic. They haven't even fought yet, so why the death stare? Eli's piercing blue eyes are practically drilling into Kai's soul. She's definitely suspicious. Right then, the blonde judge officially calls an end to the very first round of action. After a quick thank you, he drops some bad news. Since they're running late, there's a major change coming. They're jumping straight into the next trial with 0 breaks. While the losers trudge out, the real pressure starts building. The vibe is getting seriously heavy for the survivors. Everyone's already stressing out. Man, this is getting brutal. 0 time to breathe. Hopefully the next part is a bit easier. But right as the judge starts the announcement, now pay attention here, because Captain Red steps in with a smile that says nothing good is coming. He announces he's personally taking over the second trial. Having a top-ranked chroma wielder here is a total shocker. Pure terror washes over the remaining contestants. Who even is this guy? Why is a high-level elite leading a test? Everyone is losing it as the legendary chroma wielder Red steps onto the stage. This guy is on a different level. He's a powerhouse in the City of Light, famous for conquering the Darklands and smashing every extermination record there is. Word is his destructive power is so insane that even his own allies are too scared to work with him. The crowd is panicking. If this monster is the examiner, then passing this test is basically going to be impossible. We are so cooked. The judge nervously asks if he's sure, warning that the commander will absolutely kill him for this. If he finds out you change the rules, you're dead. But Red just shrugs it off like it's nothing. He gets yelled at daily anyway, so why care? Just because he's used to it doesn't mean everyone else is ready. He faces the crowd and says the test is simple. Then his voice drops, all you gotta do is survive. Boom, a massive explosion of fire erupts from his body, a wave of scorching heat test kit. Red starts trapping every single person inside a sphere of flames. As they burn, he starts explaining his twisted logic. He's recreating a hellish place he's visited before. It's about to get real hot in here, he makes it clear. The Darklands are a nightmare where humans can barely breathe. But to a guy like Red, this is just normal. This whole test is basically just a cozy heater to him. He looks at them coldly. Simple, right? Just survive the heat to pass. If you can't handle this, you were never cut out to be an explorer anyway. It only takes seconds for the screaming to start. This cozy heater is turning into an absolute furnace for everyone. You and I can only imagine how hot it is. If this is a heater, the Darklands must be hell. One guy realizes his powers are useless. Ugh, I can't block this heat, I'm just gonna have to tank it. From the sidelines, the blonde judge is watching closely. He's making a silent call on how things are going. Rumors said he was slacking off, but his skills are still sharp as ever. Clearly those stories were just big lies. Red's control is actually insane. Trapping this many people in barriers instantly? That's the level of a true master at the top. Guess the hype around him wasn't just talk. Suddenly, a loud cracking sound rips through the sea of red flame. A sphere of brilliant blue ice suddenly forms. It's radiating a freezing aura that cuts right through the fire. Everyone nearby is just staring in total shock. This shouldn't be happening right now. What even is that? Right in the middle of the fire, Eli Cyan effortlessly shatters the barrier with her ice. Seeing this, even Captain Red is impressed. Now that is what I call a power move. He knows that Cyan family power anywhere. It's his natural counter, but she shattered his barrier like it was nothing. Red looks at her. Calling her a genius is an understatement, but he remembers someone else. What about that other kid? He glances at Kai, who's still struggling hard to stay on his feet. He's barely holding on inside the fire. Guess he can't break out like she did, huh? I wasn't expecting much, but Red still looks disappointed. He thought Kai actually had real potential. Trust me, Kai is totally panicking. He thinks he's finished, and we're about to see if he survives. Alright, stick with me because Kai just realized he's in deep trouble after burning through his color way too fast. His strength is fading fast, and the desperation is starting to set in as his power completely drains away. Crap, the more I fight it, the faster my energy vanishes. No way, this cannot be the end. His color is totally gone. If the crowd sees him like this, they'll treat him like some freak or a lab experiment. Kai knew he had to act now. He couldn't let them turn him into a science project for the higher-ups. I can't just stand here and lose. There has to be a trick. Isn't there anything around here to take? His eyes lock onto the massive energy barrier closing in. There it is, something he can finally absorb. A crazy idea hits him like a lightning bolt. Desperate times call for insane measures, right? This wall is made of color energy too. If I can take it, even without knowing the risks. With the heat burning his skin, Kay decides to bet everything on this one final, dangerous gamble. Now watch this. There's zero time to hesitate, so he reaches out and grabs that blazing stream of fire with his bare hands. The absorption kicks into a violent, frantic crimson energy begins spiraling directly into Kay's palm like a massive whirlpool. The other candidates scream in pure terror. It's total chaos as red and black light clash and intertwine everywhere. Kay stands right at the center of the explosion, leaving everyone speechless. What is this? What the hell is actually happening? Captain Red and the blonde examiner are frozen by the insane spectacle. After a few seconds of stunned silence, Red breaks into a wild, hyped-up grin. Ha, it looks like we finally found ourselves a real psychopath today. Red never expected Kay to pull a stunt this crazy. Now Kay stands tall with stolen power. The entire arena goes dead silent. Every single eye is locked on number 286. Kay starts panicking under the pressure. Breaking into a cold sweat, he realizes this definitely wasn't part of the plan. Looking at those shocked faces, he groans internally. Damn it, I just attracted way too much unwanted attention. For Eli, this exam meant everything. While everyone whispers about the forbidden black color in shock, she makes a silent vow. I have to prove my strength for my family's legacy no matter what happens. I know what you're thinking. Is that even a real color? Everyone watching is wondering if a human can even possess that. Eli can't shake this rising feeling of pure dread ever since she was a little kid. She was raised to be the absolute best. Meeting a beast like Kay makes her feel the heavy family pressure. Eli tells herself she can't fail her sister, but she has to admit Kay is on another level. Watching his sheer power, Eli realizes that even if she goes all out, a win isn't guaranteed at all. She feels a weird dark aura coming from him, something that completely defies logic and everything she knows. Seeing Kay's back covered in black smoke, Eli wonders what he really is, but she quickly snaps out of it. She hypes herself up, determined to change the outcome. Just then, Captain Red walks up and grabs Kay's shoulder. Red is buzzing with excitement. Whoa, was that really the legendary power of the black color? That power was insane, it literally ate everything in sight. He pulls Kay along with a curious, I can't hold it back anymore, tell me about that color. Let's talk privately to keep your secret safe. When Kay asks about the results, Red just waves it off. Oh, don't even stress about it. With skills like yours, you've already passed. I'll handle the paperwork. Kay stands there, completely shell-shocked. Suddenly, the blonde examiner screams from the back, Hey Red, you idiot. What do you think you're doing? You're just breaking the rules again. The test is still going. Red just laughs and gives a fake apology. He keeps leading Kay away, leaving the instructor fuming with rage as he tries to restart the exam. Reluctantly, the examiner pulls himself together. He clears his throat and shouts to the remaining nervous candidates, Listen up. Because of that unexpected mess, the exam was put on hold for a sec. But we're back in business. Except for candidate 17, everyone else has to take a makeup test right now. Eli stands in silence, her cold eyes tracking Kay through a dark basement door. The heavy metal door slams shut, cutting him off from the noisy arena forever. Red tells Kay to wait while he grabs a ride and leaves to handle some shady business elsewhere. Staring at the ruins, Kay realizes the truth. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Alright, you and I are heading back to where it all began. The waste ink pit that flattened this whole area. Captain Red was carefully watching Kay, testing every flinch to see if the rookie would crack. Eyewitnesses described a massive creature with pitch-black hands destroying everything. Red leaned in, looking Kay dead in the eye, noting how suspicious it was that Kay possessed that exact same forbidden color. He concluded that Kay's ability to consume other colors was something totally alien to their world. Kay broke out in a cold sweat. The captain had seen through his secrets since day one. Running crossed his mind, but escaping a man like Red was practically impossible. The entire city hailed Red as a hero. Seeing Kay's tension, the captain definitely knew what was up. Red admitted the investigation was just a formality. He was way more obsessed with Kay's unique gift. He explained that normal colors follow strict rules, but Kay's power completely broke every single law. Now pay attention here, because Red just called him out. Kay has zero control over his absorption. Staring down the captain's sharp gaze, Kay could not find a single word to say. The man hit the nail on the head. There was literally no room for an argument. To test the limits of this freakish power, Red decided to run a little live experiment. He thrust his hand forward and ordered Kay to try and absorb his color. Kay was horrified. He was terrified his void energy would hurt the captain, but Red just laughed at the rookie. He told Kay he was too green to worry. Then Red's voice cold. He warned that the color black was the mark of the Black Lands, an evil that devours everything. He reminded him that having such an unstable, dangerous power out in the open was unacceptable. It threatened the very foundation of the City of Light itself. Then he dropped a bombshell. Most people do not know, but humanoid monsters are still out there. Red's eyes glowed ominously. If you ever come face to face with them, Kay, we might have to take you out right here. A chill hit Kay, but he stayed determined. Fine, let us do it. He reached out and grabbed Red's arm with everything he had. He warned that if things go south, it is not his fault since he still could not master the beast within. The second their energies touched, a massive shockwave exploded, drowning them both in a fog of power. Red's fiery energy flooded into Kay's body, making him scream as Bone Deep sent him into a panic. It is too hot. Damn it, I am losing control. It felt like molten lava was boiling his blood, burning every single cell from the inside out. The captain's force totally crushed him. Kay was stunned by the sheer scale of this power. You and I are seeing why this man is called a hero, a heat that melts anything it touches. Red stood calm in the center of the flames, thinking how Kay's power was starving for energy. He realized it was scary, but since Kay was a total amateur, strong people could still resist it. Still, Red admitted this was lethal to anyone else, and Kay had not even shown his full strength yet. He stared at the hands draining his energy, wondering how color could even be consumed like this. Suddenly a torrent of black flames erupted, violently swallowing everything in sight. A pillar of dark energy erupted with such ferocity that it even caught the legendary captain off guard. K had completely spiraled out of control, morphing into a figure of absolute nightmares. Cloaked in shadows, Red thought that if he did not know better he would be looking at a demon. Suspicion confirmed. You really are the one behind that incident, are you not? He needed answers from this kid, but first he had to shut down this unfolding madness. Red focused his incineration energy into his palm, preparing to strike before K lost himself for good. Meanwhile, K was drowning in a sea of dark voices screaming in his head. Dark voices screamed, begging for that intense color. Give us more. Trust me, you and I do not want to see what happens when he stops holding back. Total chaos. Stick with me, we're witnessing a mental war as these twisted voices scream inside Kai's head while he fights back. Their greed was bottomless, constantly tempting him. Just take it all, they hissed. You want this power. Every color belongs to you. In a total frenzy, Kai's eyes snapped open and he let out a shut up and obey. A massive shockwave the shadows. As the dust finally settled, Kai hit the dirt, gasping for air. Red watched in silence, totally shocked that the kid actually suppressed that force. He'd wrestled that terrifying power into submission alone. Kai was shaking, thinking to himself, man, that was insane. I almost checked out for good. Why did I lose control like that? He glanced at Red, terrified he just exposed his true dark nature right in front of a legendary color mixer. Kai realized then, he desperately needed to uncover the truth about himself. He hesitated before finally speaking, breaking the silence. Sorry, that surge caught me off guard. It was way stronger than I expected. But hey, it worked, right? Red just gave him a pretty mysterious smirk. Absolutely fascinating. No gain without a little risk, right? Relax, kid. That's enough for today's test. Red acknowledged his strength, but didn't forget why he was there. He got straight to business. Listen, you probably figured out I'm the guy sent to clean up this mess. Since I've taken the job, I have to hunt down the culprit behind this whole disaster. Now watch this. Red looks him dead in the eye and names Kai as prime suspect. Kai starts sweating bullets. Paralyzed by the senior's suffocating presence, Kai listened as Red laid out the situation. Powerful players were watching this destruction. He warned that because Kai stood out so much, once word of your weird black color spreads, everyone will point the finger at you for this catastrophe. Then came the bill. Hundreds of millions, a broke kid like you? No chance of paying. He warned that if leaders see him as a threat, they'll exile him or turn him into a lab rat. Panic set in. Kai was backed into a corner with absolutely nowhere to run. Damn it, I'm trapped, he thought bitterly. I was the victim here, but how do I prove it? Suddenly Red tossed him a lifeline. Come with me and maybe I can make this all go away. With zero options left, hearing Red's offer felt like grabbing a life jacket while drowning. Kai bowed low, desperate for a way out. I'll follow you. Red grinned but quickly cut him off. Hold up, I never said this was a free ride. He demanded Kai handle some dangerous missions in exchange for protection. Faced with debt or experiments, Kai was ready to gamble everything. Anything was better than becoming a lab rat or being buried in debt forever. If he had to pay with his body, he'd do it. He forced a strained smile and pledged, yes, of course, I'll do anything. Red smirked. Oh really, anything? You and I can seize like a lost lamb staring out that window as the ship moves. Their ship was cutting through a brutal wasteland. Kai felt the weight of leaving home behind. Engines roared as the massive vessel glided over the ruins. My first step as a pioneer. Suddenly Gale's voice cut through the air. Hey, black-haired kid? The guy was clearly annoyed. You're ticking me off. Quit the staring and sit your butt down. Kai scanned his new squad. Being a pioneer was the dream, but being stuck with these people? Total nightmare. He couldn't believe it. This used to be just a distant dream, but now he was actually out here living it. The only catch, his teammates weren't exactly friendly. It all traced back to Red's offer. He'd picked a wild, unexplored region and demanded Kai's help. Seeing Kai's nerves, Red laughed it off. Haha, don't look so worried. You aren't heading out alone, so chill out. He explained that all the new recruits were going. Kai was just one piece of the puzzle. The company would reveal the full expedition plan soon. Details are coming later, so just don't be late. His tone suddenly shifted to serious. Show up at the drop point, got it? Red was hyped. Trust me, things are about to get wild. Stick with me, we're about to see if this was a favor or a trap. Present-day Kai boards. Eli and Gale were already waiting. Kai realized Red's interference had totally trashed first test. To keep things fair, the other candidates got a second shot. That's how this crew qualified for the trip. They survived the makeup test just to be here, including Eli, who absolutely crushed the scores. She begged to be on Red's squad just to show off her real power. Across from her stood Kai. Gale was practically vibrating with rage, teeth gnashing. He couldn't believe some brat had humiliated him. The sting of defeat was fresh. He gritted his teeth, lying to himself that he'd just been sloppy. Pro tip, never sleep on the competition, man. He gave Kai a death stare that could kill. Don't expect to get lucky again. Once this mission is over, you'd better be ready for what's coming. Gale kept bragging that if Laven weren't right behind him, he would have flattened Kai then and there. But Eli shut him down fast. Forget it, you'll just get wrecked again. You're wasting your breath. Kai is on a whole different level. Gale could only gasp in shock, meanwhile Kai was just confused. Was Eli actually on Gale's side? I'm the one fighting Kai first. Kai was stunned as Eli claimed they'd already made a deal with just a single look. She whipped around to Gale with a lethal glare. You already lost, so shut up and wait your turn. Now watch this. Kai is stuck between two monsters and sweating bullets. Is this really okay? Why did I have to talk? Now they're both pissed. The exploration ship tore through the dark waves. It left the city lights behind, plunging straight into the heart of the forbidden black lands. Reaching the Aurora outpost, Kai was blown away by the massive scale and the chaotic energy of the place. He thought back to his lonely solo trips. Last time I was here, I did everything by myself. He had no clues rank companies were this massive. The gear, the setup, it was a different world. Suddenly, a hand poked his cheek, snapping him out of it. What's going on in that head of yours? It was his best friend. Marie, you actually made it. She gave him a massive grin. No way I'm missing your first big mission, Kai, she giggled, pulling her coat open to reveal a secret. Inside, Nero the cat was curled up tight. Kai took the little guy and gave Marie a heartfelt thanks. Thanks for watching him. Marie was hyped to show off her skills at a powerhouse company like Aurora. You and I saw this coming, the alarm blares. It is finally time to enter the Blacklands. Kai handed Nero back. I've got to go. Keep an eye on the little guy for me, okay? Marie held Nero close and gave him a confident look. Don't you worry about a single thing. Secretly, she was terrified. This was her friend's first real mission and he had zero experience out there. She told him, laughed it off. See ya. Marie hugged Nero tight. Don't be sad, Nero. But the cat suddenly squirmed out and bolted. Nero, get back here. She watched in total shock as Nero dove to Kai's shadow and just vanished. Marie was left speechless. Wait, what just happened? Stop. But he was already gone and the cat was right behind him. As Kai disappeared into the crowd, he hoped this wouldn't turn into a total disaster. Ahead stood the border outpost, the final wall before the deadly Blacklands. A commander barked out orders. Gear up. We're heading in. It clear that coming home alive was the only priority. Scouts were reporting new unidentified monsters in Area 21. They'd even found a dead rank beast. That's how brutal this place was. Commander Arancia told everyone to stay sharp and watch their backs. Just then a soldier sprinted over, gasping for air. Arancia could tell by his face it was bad news. What's the situation? The soldier stammered. Squad leader read the rookies and went off script. They'd broken formation without any permission. Arancia's eyes flared with rage at his total lack of discipline. He always does whatever he wants, leaving everyone else to clean up his mess. Total loose cannon. The soldier reminded her that she was the only one in charge of the main force now. And trust me, you and I know this is going to be a total disaster. Catch you next time. Trust me. As the seniors told to bring the rookies back safely, we're heading into a dark ravine. Red was silently leading Kay and Jill deeper into the shadows, but Jill sensed something was wrong. She questioned the squad leader immediately. It looks like we're taking a detour. Do the other teams even know? Kay's anxiety was peaking. We've totally deviated. Is this trek actually safe? Red just stayed calm. Pay attention here. Red claims they're special, but Kay's already sensing that something about this is seriously twisted. Gale snapped instantly, asking if really thought he'd just stand by and let him hog all the glory. Eli added coldly that she had no intention of letting steal all the rewards of Red's intense training sessions. Red just smiles. You and I know that smile spells trouble. Alright, you and I are about to follow these rookies into a total death trap. The bickering stopped instantly as they moved into the Shadowlands where beasts lurked in every corner. Eli slashed through waves of enemies with her frozen blade, her movement sharp and dangerously precise. She quickly realized the heavy suffocating air and endless monster swarms were no joke. This was a far cry from their basic training drills. Checking her mana levels, she knew she had to conserve every bit of her power. Determined to keep up with Kai, she noticed something strange and asked why he never used any specialized items. Kai simply shrugged, admitting those high-tier tools were way too expensive for him. He relied purely on his own grit, believing his raw strength was all he needed. Growing up poor meant he had to fight for every scrap of progress he made. Gale was completely floored hearing this, unable to process someone fighting without any gear. In this world, items are the lifeblood of a knight, essential for channeling their color. It stung his pride, knowing he'd been crushed by a guy using nothing but his bare fists. You and I can see the rage in Gale's eyes as he vows to get even. Squad leader Red just watched the drama unfold with a twisted, entertained smirk on his face. He loved seeing that competitive spark because it forced these kids to evolve. With a sharp whistle, he told everyone to quit stalling and keep moving forward. Time to pick up the pace and enjoy the party, he shouted as they climbed. They pushed through the jagged cliffs, carving a path toward their mysterious goal. Finally, Red called a halt for a quick break while Eli warned them to stay sharp. The group collapsed for a 10-minute breather before the next leg of travel. Gale pulled out a glowing green vial, complaining about how much color he had burned through. Kai watched in silence as Gale drained the entire bottle of expensive personal ink. It was a high-grade energy restorer, a luxury item that most veteran hunters could barely afford. Since each batch is custom-made, the price tag on those things is absolutely astronomical. Watching his peers burn through money like water made Kai feel a massive sting of jealousy. Must be nice being rich, he thought, before walking toward a fallen monster corpse. While his team watched in confusion, he simply reached out a hand toward the beast. Now watch this, because what Kai does next is going to blow your mind. A massive surge of dark energy flowed into him, leaving him feeling fully recharged. Eli rushed over, worried, but Kai just brushed it off like it was no big deal. Gale stood there trembling, horrified by the sight of someone literally eating a monster's power. This guy is a total freak, Gale muttered, staring at the main character's casual face. Most people would lose their minds seeing such a bizarre way to refill their mana reserves. But there was no time to stare as Captain Red ordered them back on their feet. After trekking through the ravine, they finally reached a massive pulsing black wall of pure energy. Kai froze, stunned by the sheer size of the barrier. Red looked at the dark sphere, revealing this was their true target. Gathering a vortex of flames in his hand, he told the rookies to watch closely. The fire blast hit the barrier, but instead of breaking, the sphere just swallowed the heat. It pulsed with more power, growing even larger after eating the attack. Red explained that brute force only feeds the wall, making it impossible to smash. He smirked at Kai, noting that the barrier acts exactly like the main character's unique devouring skill. Inside that darkness is a hidden path leading straight to an ancient ruin. Stick around, because we're about to see if Kai can find that star fragment. Stick with me. You and I are watching Neil get totally baffled. Huh? What is that? They never heard of it before. Red just dropped a cryptic answer. It is the very thing the City of Light is hunting for. I will explain later, for now just break that barrier. Kai nodded, understood. He suddenly stepped toward the thick black fog. Reaching out, he slowly touched the surface of the barrier. Instantly, that dark energy was dragged into Kai's body. It kicked up a massive violent vortex of power. Seeing it work, Red shouted with excitement, "Whoa, it is actually happening. The barrier is fading." The massive sphere vanished under Kai's absorption skill. Red did not hold back. "Nice job, Kai. Your power is a lifesaver." But unlike before, Kai's face was pale and showed heavy signs of exhaustion. He felt the heavy strain from taking in all that energy. Was it just too much for him to handle? Suddenly, the ground started shaking violently, catching Gale and Eli off guard. "Whoa, what was that?" "Don't blink, because that tremor was way too loud. They knew it would bring trouble. If we keep making this much noise, the monsters will." Before he finished, gut-wrenching roars echoed everywhere. From the shadows, swarms of pitch-black beasts with glowing eyes and sharp fangs emerged, surrounding the group. They barely had a second to react, but Captain Red just smirked as the monsters closed in. "Ha ha ha. Looks like the whole squad showed up for the party." He ordered we handle the monsters. Kai breaks the barrier. "End them instantly." Gale lunged forward, his blade slicing through the shadowy phantoms. On the other side, Eli was just as lethal, summoning sharp ice pillars that impaled rows of enemies. Watching the rookies fight so fiercely, Red just stood calmly in the middle of the chaos, thinking, "I was going to help if they struggled, but it looks like I am not needed." Fireballs circled him. Shielding him from the beasts, Red noted, "I thought I would have to save these rookies. But who knew they could hold their own so well? They really know how to fight. This is almost too easy." Leading a team of elites like this instructor hit the jack. Meanwhile, Kai was still pouring every bit of focus into the swirling dark energy from the barrier. "Okay, I know what you're thinking." Kai is starting to realize something is seriously off. "Why do I feel a similar power coming from this thing? Is it just because they are both black?" He knew if he slipped up for a second, this energy would consume his own power instantly. But Kai quickly regained his cool. This power is actually weaker than what I have inside." This was a battle of absorption. The stronger side would win. He poured more power into his grip. Dragging the entire stream of darkness into his palm, Kai finally let out a massive sigh of relief. Phew, it is finally gone. Appearing before Kai was a bottomless pitch black abyss. He was stunned. "Wait, this is the entrance to the ruins? I cannot see the bottom." He quickly turned to report. "Captain, the barrier is gone." Red smiled. "Oh, excellent. You did an amazing job, Kai." "My gut was right." He waved to the others who were still busy slaughtering. "The barrier is down. Wrap it up and assemble here." Seeing that Eli and Gale had not stopped, Red shouted, "I said do not kill them all, stop." Those rookies were still busy hacking and slashing away. Red's face suddenly changed, his eyes glowing with a menacing red light. Terrifying aura exploded from it. He sent Gale and Eli flying back, leaving them gasping on the ground in shock. Gale stammered, trembling. "What was that?" Beneath them, the ground shattered into a massive complex web of cracks like a sigil. Captain Red gritted his teeth. "No way, of course it would not be that simple," he muttered. "We had reports about a monster in this zone, and it looks like it finally showed up." In the distance, standing on a mountain of monster bodies, was a figure holding a pitch-black greatsword. "Looks like my break is over." The stranger was a dark warrior, face hidden behind a creepy mask. With one eye glowing brilliant white, Red turned and commanded the rookies, "Everyone listen up." Kai cried out, "You kids run to the ruins now. Find that star fragment. We're about to witness them getting tossed into the fire." Kai was shocked. "Wait, you want us to just go?" No more talk. Red shoved all three of them into the bottomless pit. Kai screamed as they fell. Captain Red, how are we supposed to do this alone without any guidance or instructions?" "Alright, stick with me. You and I are about to dive into a mystery where finding the truth is basically like hunting for a needle in a haystack." High above the pit, Red stood in total isolation, eyes locked onto the dark warrior closing in on him. After that brutal fall, Kai groaned, pushing himself up through the pain. Looking around the dark void, he felt totally lost. Was he actually inside the ruins? As soon as he clicked his light on, Kai froze, his face twisting in horror. He could not believe it. A modern city with shattered skyscrapers stood before him, looking desolate, chilling, and completely dead. Looking out over the endless wreckage, he wondered how a city like this could even exist so deep under the earth. Meanwhile, Gale started whining about the pitch-black darkness, which finally made Eli snap and lose her cool. "Quit your complaining and move toward that light." Spotting his teammates, Kai let out a massive sigh of relief. Finally, there they are. "I thought I was totally stranded." The three of them finally reunited, but Gale was still over there acting like a baby. He blamed Kai for getting them lost, but Eli immediately shut him down, saying Gale was just as useless as she. Now watch this part. As they stand in this massive cavern, Gale realizes this civilization was on a whole different level. It was way beyond anything he imagined. He started sweating about their mission. "That star fragment thing they are after? Yeah, right. How are we supposed to find one tiny object in all this rubble? We do not even know what we are looking for." Kai knew he was right. If they just wandered around aimlessly, they would be trapped down here until the end of time. He wished his little buddy was there to help him. Sensing his master's call, the cat finally stopped hiding. Nero stopped hiding and let out a proud cry, making Kai jump. Suddenly the cat was right at his. "Nero! What are you doing here?" Seeing Eli's intense stare fixed on Nero, Kai started sweating bullets, thinking he was totally busted. "I am so dead." He knew making excuses was a waste of time, but then a spark hit him. This could actually be his chance. He could not hide Nero forever, so he just had to show them how useful the cat was. It was time to face the music. Kai waved everyone over. "Hey, get over here for a second." He flashed a confident grin and made his big announcement. "I found a shortcut to tracking down that star fragment." Gale, still totally skeptical, tried to sum up the plan. "I know what you are thinking. A cat leading the way? Well, let's see if Kai's plan actually works out." Once the team understood the deal, Kai doubled down, promising they would find their target in no time at all. It was all thanks to Nero, but Eli was not buying it. She argued that if such a rare creature actually existed, a high-ranking noble lady like herself would definitely know about it. Despite all of Eli's complaints and doubts, Kai stood his ground. While she was holding Nero up to inspect him, Kai said firmly, "Alright, fine, watch and learn." I will prove it to you right now. Go, Nero. Show this fool exactly are capable of doing, little buddy. Nero gave an excited cry and leaped out of her arms, leaving everyone in absolute awe as he took off. Instantly, the cat's body swirled into a brilliant white vortex of light, cutting through the darkness and illuminating the ruins. Seeing this miraculous transformation, both Gale and Eli just stood there, completely frozen and unable to process their eyes. For the first time ever, they saw a cat that actually glowed. Nero led the way, leaving a shimmering trail of stardust behind. He guided them through the wreckage. Gale was still reeling. No way, a creature that follows orders and has powers? This is insane. I have never heard of anything like this. Where did he even find it? Ignoring Gale's endless stream of questions, Kai focused on Nero. You can feel it, right? The star fragment has to be somewhere close by, I know it. Hearing Nero's familiar reply, Kai gave a trusting on you. Nero focused hard, his eyes glowing with power. As they moved deeper into the maze of debris, Gale shouted out with excitement, "Wait, did he actually find something?" By dawn, Nero's light stretched out like a beacon, pointing straight toward a dark entrance leading even deeper into the earth. Staring into the massive gaping tunnel, Kai started to feel the nerves. For anyone who hates dark depth, this sight was a total nightmare. He hesitated, looking down into the endless black pit. We have already gone pretty deep, though. How much further down does this thing go? Seeing Kai stall, Gale let out a sneer. What are you waiting for? If you are too scared, you can stay here. Stung by his pride, Kai snapped back. I am not scared, and marched forward. Fine, I am going in. Inside was a massive deep with soaring walls that looked like some secret lab. Kai looked around, completely stunned by the scale. This place is way bigger than I ever could have imagined. I wonder what they even used this for. Suddenly, Nero took a sharp turn and Kai's heart started racing. He picked up the scent. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what is behind that door. Get ready, because you and I are dropping right into a massive mechanical nightmare. A colossal machine towers over them. Gil gasps, thinking it definitely found its target. None of them know what it is yet. Kai stares up in total disbelief. What is this thing? This monster is nothing like they have ever faced before. Bebeam scans Eli, then moves to Gil's signature green. Kai realizes what it is doing. It is running a color code. It is checking our colors. Watch closely as the beam starts to cover Kai. That color code. No, this is bad. The machine systems scream a red alert as the color registers. Black Wizard detect and threat. Beginning total elimination. 1 second warning before impact. The machine delivers a brutal blow. The team screams as Kai gets sent flying. It scanned me then went straight for the kill. One more hit could be fatal. Realizing it will not stop, he snarls. Fine, you are the one who started this. Get ready to eat steel. Kai lunges forward, meeting the mechanical fist head. A massive shockwave erupts. Kai grins his teeth, wondering why this thing is so tough. How does it have this much power? This level of strength is insane. Gil and Eli rush to help, but their blades just bounce off the armor. The steel is impenetrable. Even Eli maximum power feels like a mosquito. Not even a scratch, since its usual attacks are totally useless. Looking closer, she spots an ink core right in the center of its chest. Is that ink inside? If that is the weak spot, we have to hit it. Meanwhile, Kai is forced to dodge punch after crushing punch. You and I both know he needs a miracle to survive this scrap metal. He thinks about using his black form again, but it burns through too much energy. Instead, he focuses everything into his fist. Dark energy begins to swirl around his hand. He puts everything into one final strike. I am not just trash. His fist slams into its chest, triggering an explosion that rocks the ground. The core shatters. The metal giant crumbles and falls apart before the black power. Kai collapses, gasping for air after that draining finishing move. While the others approach in shock, Kai finds a strange orb among the wreckage. This core looks totally different from any other one he has seen before. Mary is going to love this when I bring it back home. The piece breaks when Eli demands to know what kind of power he used. She wants an explanation. Gil just grumbles about him not using it much sooner. I wasted my color for nothing. Kai just gives a very exhausted reply. Stop acting like the victim. This move cost way too much for casual. As they move on, a suddenly swings open by itself. Nero starts barking out a warning. Kai asks if there is something in there. He peers into the shadows. Seems safe, then his hand touches the black surface. It feels exactly like that barrier. Suddenly a blast of dark energy is sucking everything inside. The entire group is paralyzed with absolute terror. Gil yells at him for touching it as Eli screams for everyone to watch out. Screams echo as they are pulled into the void, falling into total darkness. Gil groans in the dark. It is so pitch black I cannot see any. Stick with me, because Gil is about to realize something has gone horribly wrong. Alright, stick with me because Kay just realized a terrifying truth. His color is totally gone. Jill and Eli are drained, turning a lifeless gray. Jill is shaking, unable to process the nightmare. What is this? How is this happening? They never thought they would be stripped of their very essence. Meanwhile, at the Eastern Government Building, the director is hitting peak stress, slamming files onto his desk. He screams at his staff, demanding news on the kid. The secretary can barely speak through her fear. Apparently, the boy is out on a mission with Captain Red. Red even sent a spicy message back, telling the director to mind his own business, which basically sent the old man into orbit. The director grinds his teeth, spiraling. Damn it, we are talking about the color black. Doesn't he realize the danger? Bringing that cursed power into a war zone is asking for a disaster. He insists that even if Red is a hero, this time he has crossed a line. Pay attention here because a massive monster just hit the city and the council is absolutely losing it. Fearing the legendary black wave is back, the director is losing sleep, wondering how to spin this mess. As he rages without finding a fix, a mocking voice cuts through. Looks like our director is having another meltdown. A girl's teasing laugh instantly kills the heavy vibe in the room. It's Camellia, the Vanguard captain. She tells him to chill before he ends up back in a hospital bed. Camellia gets the stress, but she trusts Red. To her, he is the most solid protector they have. Maybe this dangerous kid will actually surprise us all. She takes a slow sip of tea, playing it cool, explaining that they need to stop stressing and just trust him. But wait, the tea tastes like trash. She makes a face. Disgusting. Honestly, the director isn't having a better time either. Watching the sugar cubes tumble, he admits red is their only hope of avoiding a total catastrophe. Still, he can't believe anyone drinks this garbage. He snaps, Camellia, get your head in the game. She just smirks. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Relax, old man. Another weirdo, just as chaotic as her mentor Red. But Camellia knows why the director is so scared. He is haunted by the Black Witch and the ancient wave that once nearly swallowed the world. She remembers the dark history when humanity was on the brink of extinction from those shadow beasts. Okay, I know what you're thinking. A world of darkness? It's even worse than sound. The city survived before, but Camellia warns that with monsters acting this weird lately, a new disaster is coming. And the kid with the black power, she says they need every bit of strength they can find now. Camellia tells him to weaponize everything, even the forbidden stuff, and find a way to trick the council. The director just said then done. He stares at Kay's file with heavy eyes. He decides to play his part, because one day the City of Light might depend on this one boy. His curse might be their only salvation. Back in the void, a stunned Kay wonders what is happening. He loses it when he sees their colors have totally evaporated. He screams, demanding to know the reason. Kay is the only one still vibrant. He realizes his black power is likely the only thing shielding him. Jill and Eli are fading fast, their energy completely tapped out. They are totally spent. But Kay feels fine. He remembers this feeling from the last time. A chilling sensation crawls over him. This space is doing something to his soul. He locks in, and suddenly, a ghostly white light starts glowing right in front of him. Weird symbols start floating everywhere as creepy whispers fill the air. The sound is almost too much. Driven mad by the demonic noise, they shout for the monster to come out and fight. Kay knows those whispers. They're like the ones before, but the vibe is way more sinister now. He gets a massive red flag. Something truly messed up is about to go down. Right behind them, a dark figure with long, messy hair rips through the void and appears. You and I are watching them freeze in pure terror, and honestly, I don't blame them one bit. The pitch-black creature lunges at them in a flash, catching the entire group completely off guard. Alright, you and I are about to witness the moment everything changed. Kay just stood there, paralyzed, as a long finger pointed right at his face. As soon as that finger pressed against his forehead, Kay's eyes erupted with a blinding white light from the sheer shock. A terrifying black and purple vortex ripped open the sky. It began devouring the entire city into a void under a blood-red horizon. Monstrous phantoms crawled out from the ruins, crushing everything in sight. Above them, a pitch-black sun hung in the sky like a curse. Trapped by skeletal beasts, covered in staring eyes, a mysterious girl with pale orbs suddenly emerged from the absolute chaos. Kay stared blankly into the infinite darkness. He couldn't help but wonder if this was a lost memory or a terrifying reality. Questions about his own identity flooded his brain. Who was he? Then, suddenly 1,000 questions were answered by a flash. A mysterious voice echoed, telling him he would finally have a name. You are Kay, the strange figure commanded him. Find your own light, it whispered. Suddenly, Kay bolted awake, clutching his skull and screaming in absolute soul-shredding agony. The intense pain forced him to collapse, gasping for air as his chest heaved in desperation. Now pay attention here, because right as his memory shattered, a specific name started to take shape in his mind. It was right at the edge of his memory, hidden just behind the faces of his two closest friends. Rumian was lost in his own mental prison, swinging his blade at nothing, while Illy simply hit the ground. Holding his head, he screamed for them to just attack him already, wishing death upon everyone in his madness. Get away from me. He begged for forgiveness, promising he would never repeat his mistakes again. He kept apologizing for his faults, unsure if these haunting memories even belonged to him in the first place. The vision was a brutal psychological attack, tearing through their mental defenses and striking at their deepest, darkest weaknesses. Kay looked at his teammates with growing concern. Their mental state was deteriorating fast, and he knew it. This place felt wrong, and they needed to escape now. Suddenly, a familiar sound echoed through the gloom. A high-pitched cry startled Kay, but he relaxed when he saw Nero was alive and He asked if Nero was all right, but the little guy just kept darting and hopping around energetically. It looked like Nero was trying to guide him. Kay wondered if there was something important waiting further ahead. Deciding to trust his companion, Kay agreed to follow. He just had to stick to the Nero was creating. He looked back at the drained figures of Eli and Gale. He couldn't just leave them in that condition. He asked if Nero could stabilize them, and the little creature immediately released a warm glow that wrapped around them. Seeing the color return to their pale faces, Kay cheered. Nero's powers were actually helping them recover. They were waking up but still weak, so Kay ordered Nero to stay behind and guard them from any danger. Telling them to stay put, he began trekking through the oppressive darkness, following the faint trail of light. Despite walking for a while, the void remained empty. Kay started getting restless, feeling like he had traveled miles already. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Whispers in a void? Yeah, this is where things get really creepy for Kay. A voice taunted him, claiming no color would ever reach him. Kay gritted his teeth, visibly annoyed by the harassment. That's enough, he snapped. But then a tiny spark of light flickered at the very end of his... Kay stopped dead in his tracks. Could it really be what he was looking for? He sprinted toward the glow. Hearts racing with hope, he watched as a massive glowing structure slowly materialized right before his eyes. Standing in the center of the void, he cheered with pure joy. He had finally located the legendary Stardust fragment. There it was. The exact mission objective his senior had described to him earlier. Kay stepped closer, mesmerized by the bizarre shape and the hypnotic light radiating from the fragment. It looked nothing like he expected, making him wonder if every piece was unique. But honestly, that didn't matter now. He just needed to grab it and escape. Kay had zero interest in staying in this nightmare for a second longer. The very second his skin made contact, an insane explosion of rainbow-colored light erupted and consumed the area. It wrapped around his body, and Kay realized with horror that his absorption power was kicking in again. It was happening completely out of his control. His power was activating on its own and he couldn't stop it. He was supposed to fetch the fragment, not absorb its power. He watched the swirling light in sheer panic. Kay tried to calm down, hoping this was just a side effect. Suddenly the blinding light vanished with a bang. The void is finally vanishing, and trust me, you and I just witnessed the start of something truly legendary. Alright, you and I are diving into the Black Land, where the darkness is finally starting to lift. Nobody saw this coming. Seeing his teammates through the fog, Kay shouts out to get their attention. Is everyone alright? Gale and Eli stare at Kay, stunned by how calm he stays in this nightmare. Gale demands to know how he's still so lucid, but even Kay doesn't have a real answer. He excitedly reveals the prize in his palm. More importantly, check it out. I found the Stardust fragment. Gale is shocked. Captain Red's treasure is tiny, but he has to admit it's got a crazy vibe. The colors swirling inside are legendary. Gale still wonders if the darkness really didn't mess with Kay's head. Kay swears he's totally fine, laughing and celebrating the big win with his crew. Now pay attention, because what this cat does next is absolutely insane. Nero swallows the fragment whole. Everyone freezes in complete shock. Nero, why on earth would you just eat that? Kay panics as Nero gulps down the artifact. Nero, Gale completely loses his cool. He grabs the small cat, shaking him and spit it out, you idiot. Spit it out now. Seeing his pet treated like that, Kay snaps, hey, back off. What do you think you're doing? He doesn't know why Nero ate it, but he's not letting anyone hurt his little buddy. Suddenly, the ceiling begins to shatter with a deafening roar. The entire floor starts shaking violently. Gale starts tripping out as the walls crumble. Eli yells for everyone to move right now. They have to find an exit fast before the whole structure turns into a massive stone grave. Bricks rain down as they sprint toward the tiny light flickering at the end of the hall. Meanwhile, deep in another zone, the official team stands over a massive dead monster. Commander Arancia lets out a frustrated sigh.
Oh, damn it all.
A subordinate wonders exactly what kind of nightmare creature they just had to take down. Looking at the footprints, Arancia's face goes pale. Could it really be him? You and I both know that name means trouble. The sword demon is officially back. A human-shaped disaster with power that defies logic. Arancia realizes they are in way over their heads. Their enemy is a black hand serving the Black Witch herself. Just hearing that name is enough to make even a commander tremble. All the recent chaos finally makes perfect sense. The sword demon's return explains everything. Knowing she can't handle this alone, Arancia makes a call. She barks a commission. Everyone, fall back immediately. Her team is confused, but she points out they've gathered enough ink for the primary goal. Arancia isn't taking any more chances. The main goal was just training the newbies. She isn't about to let these rookies die before they even gain some real experience. Suddenly, a massive shockwave hits. Arancia's eyes widen as a red explosion lights up the horizon. That's Captain Red's power. He's already engaged in a high-level battle. Everyone get down, she screams as the intense pressure washes over the group. A massive pillar of light slams into the earth, sending a violent shockwave through the air. Arancia draws her massive mechanical hammer, pouring fiery energy into the metal before swinging. The explosion tears through the sky, vaporizing every threat in the area instantly. Standing in the wreckage, Arancia declares the mission over. She's not risking the rookies' lives. She orders the team back to base while she rushes off to help Captain Red. Her team obeys, telling their commander to stay safe out there. Arancia blurs toward the horizon where red explosions are tearing the sky. At the heart of the crater, massive cracks spiderweb across the ruined ground. Captain Red is locked in a lethal dance with the sword demon, sparks flying. His enemy is a pitch-black shadow swinging a massive blade that chokes the air. The ground shatters as their blades clash. Trust me, you and I are in for one hell of a fight. Alright, you and I are watching Red struggle against a massive sword falling with 1,000 tons of force. Even with his blazing fire powers, Red can feel the freezing bloodlust of the monster pushing him back. Suddenly Red erupts with a massive fire pillar as a distraction, but the sword demon sees the trap. Nice trick, old man. The beast dodges effortlessly, but a new threat is already screaming down from above. Commander Arancia slams in with her mechanical hammer fueled by flames, aiming for a brutal finishing strike. Stick with me here. This demon doesn't even flinch as he growls a challenge to the commander. A massive earth-shaking impact craters the ground, causing the very foundation of the land to shatter into pieces. As the dust settles, Arancia stands tall among the wreckage and asks if she made it in time. Seeing his backup finally arrive, Red exhales and flashes his usual grin, joking that things almost got ugly. Captain Arancia isn't here for the small talk, immediately shutting down her partner's goofy attitude during the fight. Stop joking around. She glares at the smoke-filled pit where a dark, terrifying shape is still moving. Even after that hit, the sword demon rises from the rubble, its haunting white eyes glowing with malice. Red tells Arancia that if she taps into her true color, taking this freak down will be easier. He warns her not to underestimate him for a second, while Arancia admits she was lucky to arrive. Because nobody wants to see Red actually get serious, suddenly Red cuts the chatter, sensing a massive shift. He claims having Arancia here is their chance to chop off one of the Black Witch's deadly limbs. Rings of bright orange energy spark under Arancia's boots as the demon readies its next move across the field. The monster realizes it needs to be careful against two high-level foes. Meanwhile, down at the cliff, Gil is losing it, yelling at Kay to stop pushing before they both plummet back down the hole. The two rookies are desperately clawing their way out of the abyss, trying to reach the surface again. Kay finally grabs the edge, pulling himself up and gasping for air as he hits solid ground. Escaping those ruins was a total nightmare. Kay never thought he would actually be happy to see this land. He promises himself he is never going back, but his relief vanishes the second he looks around. Now watch closely. They escape the ruins, but Red is already gritting his teeth at the next disaster. The sword demon lunges with zero warning, and Red screams for everyone to get out of the way. The creature is a blur of shadow. Do not let it touch you, Red roars as it targets the rookie. Caught in the crosshairs, Gil and Eli react instinctively, drawing their weapons and flooding them with ink energy. They try to block the demon's charge, desperate to protect themselves from the overwhelming force heading their way. But the power gap is massive. Gil's blade shatters like glass, leaving him completely defenseless and paralyzed with fear. What is this thing? It just snapped reinforced steel like it was nothing. Gil screams as death closes in. Thinking it's over, Gil closes his eyes, but Kay suddenly throws himself into the path of the blade. Kay takes the lethal hit and collapses. Gil and Eli can only watch in horror as their friend falls. They never expected the guy they thought was arrogant to actually give his life to keep them safe. The monster walks over Kay's bleeding body like he's trash, grabbing Eli by the throat with one hand. Gil is frozen on the ground, forced to watch as his teammate is strangled by the heartless beast. Back off and don't follow. Then it makes a weird demand. Where's the key? Hand it over. It threatens to snap Eli's neck if they don't cooperate. With a hostage in play, things are looking grim. Red's eyes burn with a little scarlet glow as he clenches his teeth, trying to contain his fury. Kay is still face down in the dirt, motionless. Red struggles to find a way out of this nightmare. This monster has them trapped in a deadly stalemate. One wrong move and Eli's dead. It's pure pressure. Make a choice now. Eli sobbing in terror as the sharp edge of the blade grazes her skin. In the wreckage, Kay's fingers start to twitch. Arancia erupts with a scream of pure rage. You monster. What are you even talking about? You and I are both wondering what he really wants. Reeves on Diane's line. Reeves on Diane's line. Alright, you and I are about to witness an insane comeback as everyone's eyes shift behind the demon. Red screams, Kay. The demon's face twisted into pure terror as a wave of suffocating bloodlust washed over the entire battlefield. Shaking, it watched the broken body slowly rise from the dirt. It stammered, What kind of monster are you? The monster thought he was finished. But there he stood, a towering silhouette wrapped in a chaotic swirling void. Shadowy tentacles lashed out from his skin. The sheer pressure was so intense the very air seemed to be shattering. He wasn't human anymore. This was something ancient and terrifying, crawling back from the very edge of the grave. The demon stared, paralyzed at the black vortex spiraling around Kay. He couldn't wrap his head around this power. Since when do humans bleed shadows? Kay's hand turned pitch black, radiating a weight that could crush a mountain. The earth shook. Suddenly, a massive gravitational force snatched the demon, slamming his body backward through the air. Captain Red and Arancia were stuck in place, completely stunned by this horrifying evolution. A demonic voice kept screaming, Get over here right now. Faster! The noise was constant, driving him forward until he was in the demon's face in a literal heartbeat. The demon could only panic. Seeing this, Red yelled out in pure desperation, Damn it, Kay, stop! Did the void consume you? He couldn't accept that this kid had just become one of those legendary monsters. Pay attention here. Kay's black literally eating the demon's soul as he screams in agony. This wasn't a trick. This was a monster devouring his very life essence. Through the smog, Kay's burned with cold rage. Staring at his foe, the demon realized the terrifying truth. Could it be? Are you actually the legendary Key? Nasty mouths with jagged teeth erupted from Kay's shadow, ripping and tearing into the demon's flesh like starved beasts. The demon couldn't even scream anymore. He was helpless against this absolute wall of destructive energy. He shrieked in despair while the shadows feasted. Kay whispered, I'm not letting you off that easy. I'll take your limbs first. As Kay spoke those words, it looked like the demon's time was finally up. But he wasn't quitting yet. He unsheathed his blade and swung a desperate heavy blow right at Kay. Boom, the impact sent a massive shockwave through the dirt, but the demon was the one left shocked. His sword didn't even leave a scratch on that dark armor. He stood there shivering, knowing he was done. Now you and I can see there's no escape as the tentacles trap the enemy in a lethal storm. Staring death in the face, the demon spat out his final words, Can't believe it ends like this. Before the shadows could finish him, a roar cut through the chaos. Stop your damn whining. Commander Arancia plummeted from the sky covered in roaring orange fire. She swung that massive hammer with everything. A massive wave of energy exploded outward as she yelled, It's time for you to die, understood? The hit smashed directly into the demon's gut. He knew he had to bail, he had what he needed. He'd finally identified the key. He suddenly bolted, leaving Arancia yelling, Where are you going? She screamed at the coward, You've got to be kidding me. You start a war and then just run? Running away the second you're losing? Great, I guess the party is officially over now. Arancia quickly shouted the escape route over to her captain boss. He's making a break for it that way. Red knew he had to intercept that monster before he reached the safety of the deep abyss. He moved like a bullet, appearing right on the demon's heels and whispered one cold word, Hey. Red's eyes were icy and full of bloodlust. Where exactly do you think you're off to? His grip tightened on his flaming blade, ready to unleash his deadliest skill, the ultimate technique, Chroma. He unleashed the extinguished flame, slamming a mountain of power onto the demon. The ground literally groaned. The earth shattered under the blazing heat and pressure. The sword demon let out a guttural groan. He recognized that force instantly. The red flames began eating his body, turning him to ash. His healing factor was gone. I'm not growing back, Red stated coldly. Now we can actually start fighting. He didn't even let the demon catch his breath. He blurred forward, landing a massive strike that launched his enemy away. The demon snarled a threat. He hissed before vanishing. Trust me, you and I haven't seen the last of this monster. Dive into this epic clash where the key is finally mine. A massive blast rocked the area as the enemy escaped. Red could only watch, powerless. Arancia shouted, Boss, let us hunt him down. But Red immediately cut her off. Don't. Going deeper is suicide right now. Arancia's face twisted with regret. We almost had him right there. Red stared into the dark abyss, deep in thought. We have no choice. We're not ready for those depths yet. Even with support, this is our limit. It's frustrating that this cursed land actually served as the enemy's shield. The rookie shuffled over. Sorry about that, sir. I was just a total burden out there. Red shook his head. No, I'm just relieved you're all breathing. Walking away from that thing with 0 deaths is nothing short of a miracle, but his focus shifted to Kay, his eyes full of heavy, growing concern. What do we do with him? Seeing Kay lost in that black mist, Red wondered if his mind was gone. A chill ran down his spine. K's power had surged to a level that was dangerously out of control. If he can't tame this strength, will he destroy everyone he loves? That thought was more terrifying than any monster. Wait, pay attention here. Is he devouring the land? Dark energy from the soil began spiraling straight into K. The thick darkness started to dissolve, finally revealing the young boy's pale face and shocking white hair to the group. Everyone gasped his name. Red sprinted over. K, you're finally awake. As the gloom vanished, K's body gave out and he hit the dirt. Captain Red looked at him in total disbelief. Colorless? How can someone without a color rank hold such a monstrous, terrifying level of power? Arancia and the others stood frozen, staring at the boy who just went through that nightmare transformation. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the sword demon was reeling, his flesh scorched from Red's fire. Two blue-haired girls with mismatched eyes suddenly appeared. They started mocking him immediately. Pointing at his raw red burns, one jeered, "You actually fought a red, huh? Wow, you actually walked away from a fight with that beast." She couldn't stop laughing at his broken state. "Seriously, what's with that combat obsession? Watching you struggle is so hilarious I could actually die laughing, haha." Ignoring the insults, the sword demon growled coldly, "Shut your mouth and get lost right now." The girl kept rambling about Red's insane strength, claiming anyone who fights that hard is just begging to self-destruct eventually. As she teased him, she suddenly remembered something vital. "Wait, why didn't you answer my question from earlier? Tell me. You saw it too, didn't you?" The veil of the Black Witch actually opened up for a split second. She was dying to know exactly how that barrier had been breached, but despite her pestering, he stayed silent. He thought to himself, "You absolute moron, as if I would ever share a secret like that with you. See, you and I know greed always wins. If K's identity as the key gets out, his whole side loses every advantage." His selfish instincts took over. "I'm taking that kid for myself," he decided, eyes gleaming with a dark ambition. Sensing he was definitely hiding something major, the blue-haired girl let out a truly wicked, knowing little smile. "Don't you realize that keeping secrets just makes you look even more suspicious? I see you." What a complete idiot. She confidently vowed that she would uncover the truth on her own terms. Judging by his reaction, she was certain the veil opening was tied directly to the people in the city. To dig up more clues, she decided to unleash the monsters once again. Just like before, something massive began rising from the dark abyss. She commanded, "All right then, let's start getting ready to raise a brand new tide." Back from the darkness, the tide of Light City was glowing, but the mood in the hospital was suffocating. Captain Red, Gil, and Eli stood in silence by K's bedside, watching over the boy who was still out cold. He thought, "I can't even look them in the eye." He bitterly remembered his own arrogant big talk. He'd promised he wouldn't let a single soul get hurt, and yet here he was, failing that promise completely. Red looked at K, drowning in regret. "I'm sorry, this is all my fault." He pulled out his watch, staring at it as a wave of helplessness hit him. Whether it was back then or now, nothing has changed. This top-tier palette master started insulting himself. What kind of pathetic, useless hero am I supposed to be? He was a leader burdened by duty. Seeing him suffer like this, Gil finally spoke up. "That's not true at all, sir. Considering the survival rate for rookies, this result is actually a huge win. Trust me, you're the only reason everyone made it out alive. Stick with me for the next chapter." Alright, you and I are diving into a story where survival hangs by a thread, and these two captains are the only ones left. Mary was totally lost. Like, what is even happening right now? She kept a close eye on those high-level palette masters. These guys just showed up claiming to be K's squad, yet somehow not a single one of them had a scratch. Only K came back solo, looking like he'd been through a meat grinder. Mary was definitely smelling something fishy with this group, but after a quick chat she finally let out a breath. Turns out they weren't actually the bad guys after all. What a relief. She turned her worried gaze back to K, who was still out cold on the hospital bed. Man, when is he waking up? Handling this crew alone is seriously stressing her out. Thankfully, the nurses said his vitals were fine. They promised he'd be up soon, but the tension was real. Suddenly, Captain Red turned his focus straight toward Mary. "You're Marissa, right?" His friend? Mary could barely get the words out, just nodding nervously and saying, "Yeah, yes, sir." Red flashed a reassuring grin. "Like you just heard, stop stressing about him. By the way, I need to ask you something. I'm looking for a little guy named Nero. Any idea where he's at?" Mary realized she'd been so worried she'd forgotten the cat. Wait, pay attention right here, because the missing piece is about to make a very tiny appearance. Two little black ears slowly peeked out from right behind K's head. Gil pointed a shaking finger and screamed, "There!" Right there on the bed. Seeing that black cat trying to play hide-and-seek behind the pillow, Gil absolutely lost it. "Get your head out here right now, you little punk." Nero just sat there shivering, terrified of the green-haired man's rage. Gil was still fuming, replaying every chaotic thing that Cat had done. He was ready to lay out the full list of charges. "Captain, that's the thief who gulped down the star fragment." He exploded, trashing Nero for vanishing and leaving them in the dark. "You put the entire team in a mess. Do you know how hard it was trying to explain your disappearing act?" Gale couldn't hold back her anger anymore and lunged for the cat. "Get over here." But that quick little furball just vanished. He dodged her easily, and Gale ended up catching a paw right to the face. "You little brat of a cat!" Mary snatched Nero up to keep him safe, just thrilled her little buddy was okay. "Nero, I was so scared for you." "So you were just chilling in his shadow this whole time?" She squeezed him tight, just happy that he was finally back. "You feel that too, right?" A strange energy is suddenly filling the room, and Captain Red has definitely noticed it. "What is this? This vibe feels so familiar, but maybe I am just tripping." Suddenly Nero opened wide and started glowing. A blinding light burst from Mary's hands, making her jump. She stared in shock as something started floating in midair. Wait, what? It actually spat something out. Red walked over, finally relieved he didn't have to figure out how to dig it out. He reached out to grab the shimmering object, whispering to himself, "A star fragment, we actually found another piece of it." Looking at the glowing gem in his palm, the captain's eyes suddenly went dark with grief. He knew the cost of this prize. He wondered how much blood they'd have to spill just to get this far, but Nero didn't swallow it for power. The cat just wanted to keep the fragment and his master safe. Meanwhile, Kay was drowning in a pitch-black nightmare. Deep in that darkness, he could feel a massive, dangerous threat closing in. The terrifying image of the sword demon was back. It was haunting him, making him fear for his squad. Eli and Gale are no match for that monster. His fighting spirit hit the ceiling, screaming at him to wake up. I have to get out there and protect them. That grotesque half-demon face flashed in his mind. Suddenly, Kenny's eyes snapped open and he bolted upright, gasping. He looked around the hospital room, totally dazed. He saw Captain Red holding the glowing star fragment alongside Eli and Gale. Mary was right there too, and Kay just froze, completely lost. Where am I? How did I even get here? He looked down at his hands and a wave of horror hit him. He started spiraling. This is bad. I'm actually colorless now. What does this even mean? What the hell am I going to do? He started panicking, his mind racing through every worst-case scenario. If they see me like this, I am getting kicked out. It's over. They'll definitely drop me from the team. Seeing him sulking, Captain Red finally spoke up. Hey, lift your head. Did you kill somebody? Why are you making that face? He asked it like it was nothing, ignoring Kay's current status. To Red, the only thing that mattered was their legendary success. They'd crushed their very first expedition. Looking at the shining star fragment in his hand, Red flashed a wicked grin. I didn't think you guys would pull this off. From here on out, I'm going to work you like a total slave, so you better get ready for the grind, Kay. Trust me, you and I are about to see this legendary grind begin, and it's going to be absolutely wild. Alright, you and I are starting with big news. Red officially welcomes Kay to the whole team. Kay snaps to attention with a firm yes sir, finally shaking off that crushing fear of being abandoned. He never imagined they would overlook his past and invite him to stay. He is absolutely over the moon. Once the paperwork is handled, Red gives the squad the green light to relax and dismisses them for now. Heading for the exit, he mentions he is off to brief Sir Luminous on everything that went down. He pauses to remind the rookies to recover until the expedition team sends out their next set of orders. The heavy hospital door slams shut, leaving our trio of friends alone in the quiet, sterile room. Eli turns to Kay, admitting he clearly has explaining to do, though she won't grill him just yet. With a bit of hesitation, she asks if he remembers a single thing after he blacked out earlier. Thinking of Red's warning to hide his dark power, a flustered Kay can only stutter a nervous reply. I don't recall much, he claims, seeing his shaky reaction as Kay is definitely hiding something big. She sighs, deciding to let it go for now. Kay can only offer a weak, awkward smile in response. He insists he is being honest, but deep down, the anxiety over his mysterious power is eating him alive. Noticing Kay's mood tanking, Maris lets out a mischievous giggle and tells him not to sweat the small stuff. I've got just the thing for this, she chirps, digging through her bags to find her hidden item. Under their confused stares, Maris finally strikes gold and pulls something out with a triumphant, excited shout. Now you and I might be confused here, but it is literally just a bottle of pitch black ink. Maris admits she swiped it from a waste warehouse, leaving Eli horrified as Kay grabs the disgusting bottle. What even is that? That is not ink, it is straight up toxic sludge from the garbage. She demands to know why she brought such dangerous junk here, but Kay looks like he won the lottery. To Kay, this is the good stuff. Only he and Maris know his power actually feeds on this waste. Eli watches in pure terror as he raises the bottle to his lips. Is he actually going to drink? I know what you are thinking, and yeah, he really just chugged that entire bottle of toxic waste. He lets out a satisfied breath, feeling the life return as a dark aura wraps around his messy hair. His hair snaps back to jet black. He pumps a fist, feeling his strength hit 100%. Maris cheers him on, reminding him she has a whole stash of the stuff back in her room. She tells him to stop by for a refill anytime, and Kay flashes a bright smile of thanks. Guess your power is pretty cheap and common. Gale scoffs, cutting through their light-hearted moment with cold remarks. He asks if they are done with the mindless chatter before turning his back to head for the exit. Suddenly, Gale freezes, his sharp eyes locking onto Kay's arm. He realizes the injury is perfectly healed. Questions race through Gale's head. He knows this kind of insane healing factor is reserved for elite healing specialists. Staring at Kay's arm, he cannot wrap his brain around how a kid like Kay pulled this off. His curiosity peaks with a nagging sense of guilt since Kay nearly died just to keep him safe. Gale spins around, demanding to know why Kay would ever risk his own life to take that hit. Gale grits his teeth, waiting for an answer, while Kay just awkwardly scratches his neck and tries to speak. Honestly, I just felt like everyone was in trouble, Kay admits, speaking straight from his heart about that moment. He thought his power could tank the blow, even though he knows he came inches from certain death. That honest answer is like throwing gasoline on a fire. It sends Gale straight into a blind, furious rage. He lunges forward, snatching Kay by the collar and screaming that he never asked for anyone to save him. With murderous intent in his eyes, Gale snarls that he absolutely despised Kay's self-righteous hero complex. Kay is left frozen and confused, but Maris is not about to let Gale's temper tantrum slide by. She points a finger in his face, yelling at him for losing his mind after Kay saved his life. Scolded and sulking, Gale finally lets go and storms off into the hallway without saying another single word. Maris fumes as he walks away, wondering what is wrong with a guy who cannot even say thank you. Stick with me, you and I will see how Gale deals with this mess very soon. Stick with me, you and I are watching Gale bail after smoothing things over for her grumpy friend. Kay kept it classy and said his polite goodbyes as she finally headed out the door. Before leaving, Eli made sure to mention that their big duel was officially being postponed. Once they were finally alone, Kay turned to his friend Maris to see if she was ready. Maris nods, but watch closely. Kay just remembered he has a massive surprise for her. He hyped up the story of how he totally wrecked a giant mechanical monster while scouting. Reaching for an item on a high shelf, he grinned, saying he knew she would love this. Ta-da! It was the glowing energy core from that massive machine he just took down. Maris stood there completely speechless, staring at the incredible gift in Kay's hands. I know what you're thinking. Kay is a total legend for thinking of his friend in that moment. Meanwhile, in a completely different space, heavy footsteps echo through a massive palace as he trudges toward the light. Captain Red walked through the brilliant corridor, looking deep in thought between the giant pillars. Passing through a dazzling gate of light, he entered a solemn sanctuary where 5 magical silk ribbons floated. Red spoke up calmly saying he was back as a soft, pure female voice echoed through the room. The mysterious woman with beautiful long white hair smiled, telling him she had been waiting for his arrival. Red stands there full of confidence, and trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to see what happens when ancient secrets finally come to light. We can finally pull back the curtain on the dark witch, Lady Luminous, who watched with those piercing blue eyes. Radiating the divine beauty of a goddess inside Mary's workshop, the energy in the room instantly hit a fever pitch. Mary studied the metal core her friend had delivered, her amazement growing with every second she spent inspecting it. Cursing under her breath, she screamed in total shock, realizing she had only ever seen something like this in books. This is straight-up ancient civilization tech, Mary blurted out, explaining that the orb was actually a sophisticated device. It ran on ink as fuel, but she couldn't stop geeking out over its insane efficiency. Just a tiny bit of old ink kept a golem moving for ages. Their technology was honestly on. While his friend was losing her mind, Kai looked completely unconvinced. To him, it just looked like any other scrap. Is it actually that special? Mary fired back immediately, screaming that it was way more than just special. She explained that even the most elite pioneer squads almost never stumble upon these treasures in the ruins. Seeing one a year was considered lucky. Mary looked dazed, picturing a world once powered by this lost technology. Always thinking about the bag, Kai asked, so it's worth a lot, right? We could probably sell it for millions. The moment he joked about cashing it in, Mary snapped. You absolute moron, she yelled, fuming at his ignorance. She ranted that people who don't get tech always talk such garbage. A real engineer like herself, she claimed, would never trade a research goldmine for some quick cash. Mary stood firm when she'd take it apart herself. Why would I ever sell this masterpiece? She grinned with total confidence, telling him to just wait and see. Ideas are already pouring into my head. I'm going to forge the perfect set of gear just for you. The metal orb had her completely under its spell. She tuned everything out, already muttering complex math and calculations. Seeing her so hyped, Kai smiled to himself. He knew bringing that energy core back was the right call. He quietly called out to Nero and turned to wave goodbye to Mary as they prepared to head out. Catch you later, Kai said, but Mary suddenly shouted for him to stop right there. Now pay attention, because here's where the vibe completely shifts. Mary suddenly remembered something very important. Kai was confused. Someone's looking for me? Mary began explaining her recent trip deep into the Shadow District. She went there looking for recovery ink, but instead she was cornered and interrogated by some complete strangers. At first she thought they were just local thugs, but the reality was far more terrifying than she expected. They knew exactly who we were and came straight for me, Mary explained, her voice shaking slightly. A mysterious guy in dark glasses asked her point blank if she was Kai's friend before stating his business. We want to meet the one carrying that legendary black ink. Sensing immediate danger, Mary didn't wait around. She bolted instantly. Hearing this, Kai's heart sank. Mary, that's way too dangerous. You shouldn't have been there. I told you to avoid that area alone. I'm just glad you're okay and managed to escape those freaks. Let's pause for a second. Can you believe how reckless this girl is? Mary just mumbled it was an emergency. She warned Kai with a serious face. If those creeps show up again, stay as far away as possible. Kai nodded, then said his goodbyes and started the trek home, his mind racing with everything he'd just heard. He was a bit on edge, but since this part of town was safe, he figured nothing crazy would happen. He told himself that if he really was their target, they'd find him eventually whether he liked it or not. Kai tiredly walked through the glowing city streets, wanting nothing more than to just crash in his own bed. But after a few blocks, he noticed something weird. There were way more drifters out tonight than usual. Even the underworld types were out in the open. Was some kind of gang war or purge happening? Suddenly, Nero's sharp cry made him jump.
What's up, Nero?
Following his little friend's gaze. Nero was pointing toward a pitch-black alley. Kai hesitated, asking if there was really something hiding in the shadows. He tried to warn the little guy that the Shadow District was no joke, but Nero kept pushing him forward. He eventually gave in. Fine, we're going in, but you better be right about this. He trusted Nero's instincts implicitly. Something was definitely there. Taking a deep breath, he decided to test his training. Stick with me, we're about to see Kai channel his black energy and witness his world change forever. Alright, stick with me because we are about to see if a simple skill can uncover a massive secret. Hoping it could spot danger in the shadows, Kai took a breath and whispered invert vision. He celebrated when the skill kicked in, but he was immediately frozen. Standing right there in his sight, at the far end of the alley, was a figure glowing with pure white light. What the hell is this? Is there actually someone there? A woman with snowy hair and deep blue eyes stood silently in the glow. Kai shouted a warning. Hey, who are you? A cloaked figure loomed at the edge of the alley. Replying in a muffled voice, I have been waiting for you, mortal. Kai stood there, totally paralyzed. How does this person know me? And why did that cat lead me straight into this trap? If this was his stalker, he had to take them down and get some real answers immediately. It was the only way to keep Mary safe. Without a moment of doubt, Kai bolted forward, charging toward the mysterious doorway where the figure waited. The second he stepped through the frame, now watch this, the entire world just flipped on him as everything started to twist and warp right before his eyes. The alley was gone. Now he was in a white void with a massive shimmering pillar of light. This was an alley a second ago. He looked around, wondering if he had crossed into another dimension. Just then, a crystal-clear voice echoed from directly behind him. How interesting. The voice rang out, I did not plan on showing myself quite this early. Kai spun around and froze. A stunning woman with long white hair was standing right beside him. She said calmly, you should be proud, very few are ever lucky enough to find me. Whoa, Huhai jumped back. She just gave a mysterious smile that commanded absolute respect. It is an honor, descendant of the Black Ink. The Black Ink? Kai barely heard the name. He was mesmerized by her beauty, her body shimmering with every possible color. He was speechless. Never in his life had he seen anyone radiate such pure, brilliant light. A realization hit him like a ton of bricks. This has to be Illuminous. Why would the leader of the whole city be looking for a colorless person like him? He stared at Celestia and her royal scepter. How long has she been secretly watching my every move? Kai stood like a statue, eyes wide with terror. Those haunting whispers started echoing in his mind again. You and I can feel the tension here. Something dark wants to devour that light. Invisible shadow hands reached for Celestia as the voice screamed, "Get closer. Take that light for yourself." Kai started shaking uncontrollably. Shadow swallowed his face, radiating a cold, terrifying aura as he lost all control. Even Celestia was caught off guard. He is being consumed by the how strange. I have not even moved yet. Red told her about this boy, but seeing it was different. He was drowning in darkness but still alive. It was incredible. He was not a dark witch. There was a mysterious bond between them. She looked at him and realized something important. The council wants him dead, but I do not. Her colorful eyes gleamed with determination. His ability to fight the darkness was too valuable to waste. He could be the city's greatest protector. Methods did not matter to her. If Kai had to use the darkness to win, so be it. Celestia gripped her scepter and a blinding flash erupted. Great things only come to the brave. So for now, let us just have a little talk. The light hit Kai like a physical shock. He snapped back to reality, collapsing and gasping for air. That voice is getting louder. Celestia stepped closer. Was that the voice of a dark witch you just heard? Kai shook his head, exhausted. I do not know. They are just strange, terrifying whispers. I only came to see you because Red mentioned your name. She gave him a gentle. I also wanted to thank you on behalf of the city. Kai looked at her, totally confused. Thank me for what? I have not done a single thing for this city. And trust me, we are only just beginning to learn how important that star fragment really is. Alright, you and I are about to learn why this tiny fragment is the city's biggest secret. Anyone who recovers such a legendary treasure deserves our deepest gratitude, Celestia said as Kay looked on. But it was Sir Red's team that did the work, Kay muttered, before she interrupted him. Sure, the whole team played their part, but here is the thing. You were the one who shattered the Dark Witch's barrier. Her eyes glowed with intensity. Do you realize how insane that is? Even a powerful luminous like me couldn't do it. She emphasized that only the witch herself should have been able to bypass that massive protective seal. Celestia revealed that these star fragments are hidden all across the dangerous Darklands. Most stay locked behind barriers. Every fight with shadow creatures is a desperate struggle to win them back. Up until now, the city only managed to grab the few fragments lying out in the open. Kay looked confused. I get it, but why are you telling all this to me? I do not even know what they do. Well, if you are not curious, we still need answers. Don't we? Kay wondered why Captain Red and Celestia valued these stones so highly. Celestia realized talking wasn't enough. It would be way better if he just saw the truth himself. Now pay attention here, because what she is about to show him is a secret kept from the entire world. A blinding light erupted, swallowing the room. Whoa, the entire space just shifted. This is my private sanctuary, she whispered. Kay, you are the first person to ever step foot here. She held the fragment high. Suddenly, a massive pillar of light blasted out from the small stone. An earth-shattering pulse of energy shot toward the horizon. Kay stood frozen, completely stunned by the sight. He watched in shock as the ancient darkness, untouched for 1,000 years, was physically pushed back. It all clicked. They needed these star fragments to literally drive the shadows away from their world. Extra. Read all about it as a brand new doom broke over the city. People flooded the streets, shocked. Lord Luminous had actually managed to shrink the dreaded Dark Zone. Territory was reclaimed. The crowd was buzzing. Was that light yesterday really Lord Luminous? It felt like a miracle. Humanity was finally winning back land after 15 long years. Everyone felt the city was getting safer. While they celebrated, everyone was still curious about the identity of the mysterious savior who saved them. They knew he had to stay at the front lines, guarding the light for everyone. This victory opened endless doors, promising fresh resources and valuable ink from the newly liberated land. The powerful clans started moving, putting together elite teams to grab the biggest rewards. While the city celebrated, Kay just sat alone in his room processing everything. He pictured the brilliant god of light. One question kept echoing through his mind over and over. You and I can see how these star fragments are the only hope these people have. Celestia explained that the fragment Kay's team found was more than just rare, it was extraordinary. But then she dropped a heavy warning. Be careful, the demons are watching this area very closely. If they find out about your unique power, they will hunt you to the literal ends of the earth. The image of the dark sword demon flashed by, a cold reminder of the danger. Even so, Celestia promised that the city would do everything to keep Kay safe. She regretted that the city was struggling just to survive, so she couldn't offer him much right now. She had to stay focused on holding back the shadows. Looking at him, she said, "You are special. People will fear you or try to use you. I will try to stop that before it happens." She told him to keep being a colorist in his own way before sending him off. Celestia smiled, saying she enjoyed the talk, but as he turned, she realized she forgot the reward. Kay stood there, totally speechless. Wait, so after all that, I only get to thank you? Time to get to work. After resting up, Kay wondered what his next move should be. He thought of Mary. She must be having a hard time since her ink was almost gone. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see if Kay's old mining skills still work. Alright, you and I are about to see a complete underdog walk into the big leagues. He never imagined standing here. This is the elite hub where legendary colorists all gather. Back when he was a colorless nobody, Kai wouldn't dare. Confident. As a true colorist, the moment Kai appears, the atmosphere around him starts buzzing with energy. Every single eye locks onto him. Everyone is curious, mysterious. But his aura is unsettling. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Is he really the Black Wielder? Someone confirms the rumor. That is him, alright, the first person to ever manifest black. Up close, he feels creepy. The crowd cannot stop gossiping. Now pay attention because everyone is wondering what this new power actually does. His recent heroics are legendary and rumors of an official reward are spreading fast. Everyone is dying to know how he caught the eye of the powerful Lord Red. From the balcony above, a guy with fiery hair watches Kai says what? He jokes that Kai looks like a crow. Pitch black, totally unusual. A woman nearby tells him to grow up and get to his seat already. He just laughs it off, purely curious about the kid Lord Red took under his wing. He asks Arancia if the rookie is actually as impressive as the rumors claim. She thinks for a second before admitting he is impressive but also deeply unsettling. She cannot shake the memory of Kai being swallowed by that terrifying bottomless darkness. Arancia decides to watch him closely while her words only make the red-haired guy more intrigued. Down in the main hall, Kai keeps walking alone, completely unfazed by the crowd staring. He ignores the gossip. He knows his color is weird. He just heads for reception. The receptionist gives him a warm smile, asking if it is his first time visiting. Kai nods, asking if there are any beginner-level jobs he can try out. She hands him a form, noting he needs an official emblem, and asks for his info. She explains that new recruits start with easy tasks like mining or hunting small monsters. The insults start flying, with one guy calling his dark color totally gross. Another wonders if he is even human or just some kind of monster. As they mock him, a jealous man nearby cannot hide his growing rage. When asked for his opinion, he just let out a hostile growl. Jealousy is written on his face as he glares at Kai's back with hatred. You and I see his rage. He hates this black-haired rookie. He has been salty since Kai got picked for exploration. To him, Kai is just lucky. He cannot stand seeing an inexperienced newbie acting so confident in front of everyone. His temper finally snaps. He stands up and shouts to his friends to listen. He rallies the group to go purify the city. It is time to fight. The haters head out. Meanwhile, Kai is already deep in a mine working hard. He finds a vein of glowing stones and cheers. He is holding some rare raw ink. He and Nero are stoked. This is officially the biggest haul Kai has ever found. Since mining is slow, finding this much ink is a massive win. This stuff is worth a fortune. Moran will be so happy. Then Kai taps into his power, activating his eyes to see through the pitch darkness. Resource hunting is a breeze with these eyes. No matter how dark it gets, his vision acts like a scanner for hidden minerals. But he must be careful. This skill drains his energy way too. Stick around, because you and I know this gets wild. Alright, stick with me because Kai is about to go through a major transformation, starting with his cat Nero. Staring at his massive haul of raw ink, Kai couldn't believe how quickly he had finished his work today. Returning this early with such a huge load would definitely raise eyebrows. He needed a way to kill time first. Spotting a stray crystal, a spark of inspiration hit him. Why not use this extra time to master it? Kai started breaking it down. His primary skill, ink absorption, required direct physical contact to actually trigger the effect. The problem was his lack of control. Sometimes he would absorb things by accident, which was a major future liability. Determined to fix this weakness, he focused all his energy on perfecting the technique until he held a blue stone. The quality was insane. Its radiant blue glow suggested the stone was worth a small fortune on the open market. But the second his fingers grazed the surface, dark energy surged from his palm, instantly draining the stone of color. Kai panicked, shouting for it to stop, but it was too late. That expensive gem had already turned pale and worthless. He stared at the ruined rock in total dismay. He had to stop acting so recklessly in security. Now watch closely, because even though he is frustrated, this failure actually leads Kai to a massive power breakthrough. He realized that the more vibrant the color, the more his power would spiral out of control, especially during those whispers. The sound always provoked him, making things 10 times worse. Luckily, he had finally pinpointed the cause of his struggles. He took a deep breath, reminding himself to stay composed. He would not let this dark power dictate his action. Was he just mixing colors into black? He theorized that every individual color might possess its own unique characteristic. What if he used it differently? If black is a combination of everything, maybe he could harness every specific shade. He tried to visualize the power of Leader Red. Could he replicate that feeling and channel it through his body? Recalling his senior's movements, he mimicked the flow. A searing heat began to surge through his veins like liquid fire. A violent stream of red flame gathered in his palm, but it flickered and died out before he could stabilize it. Mastering this was going to be brutal, but Kai was not quitting. You cannot become a pro on your first try. He kept at it until the sun dipped below the horizon, training alone in the silence of the desolate fields. In the dead of night, Kai finally began the long trek back, hauling those heavy sacks while lost in thought. Suddenly, a mocking voice cut through the dark, calling him a 1,000-year-old turtle for finally showing up. 4 figures stepped out, blocking the path. A red-haired guy led the pack with a twisted, sinister smirk on his face. He sneered, claiming he never expected to run into the city's famous celebrity in a dump like this place. The guy was practically vibrating with killing intent. Kai braced himself, sensing the pure hatred radiating from the entire group. You and I both know these guys are looking for a fight, and Kai is completely baffled by their arrival. The strangers crowded him, and a man named Grab stepped forward, demanding Kai's attention with an aggressive, loud shout. They had been waiting for him, half expecting him to be cowering in some dark corner like a terrified little rat. Even as the guy started getting physical, Kai kept his cool, despite the blatant lack of respect for a senior. Grab demanded the bag, eyeing the sparkle of the colored ore inside. He was not about to let treasure escape. His buddies, Gray and their leader Match, watched with amusement, clearly enjoying the prospect of an easy, violent shakedown. Match's eyes turned cold, mocking Kai's newbie luck while warning him not to be too greedy with his find. He offered a deal, reveal the location of the ore, and maybe they would let him walk away in peace. Otherwise his life was forfeit. Kai did not say a word, simply setting his heavy bag down on the dirt. Grab grinned, thinking he had won, but his smug expression vanished the moment Kai's fist collided with his jaw. The impact sent him crashing backward, leaving his 2 accomplices frozen in absolute shock at the sudden powerful counterattack. Kai stood tall, coldly telling them that there is always trash like them standing in the way of his schedule. He dared them to attack all at once. Infuriated by the insult, Grab lunged forward with a sharp knife. Kai sidestepped the blade easily and launched a strike that sent Grab flying into the cliff, shattering the solid rock. Another lackey tried to sneak up behind him, but Kai was faster, snatching the man's wrist and twisting it effortlessly. With a swift kick to the leg, he slammed the second man's head into the ground, ending the fight instantly. Greed comes with a heavy price tag. Kai turned his attention to the final man standing, ready to finish this. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you are going to want to see how he dodges this bullet. Alright, you and I are about to see a dodge so close it literally carved a hole in the cliff. A sniper stood there with a smoking barrel. He smirked, impressed I actually moved that fast. Lame, I wanted to one-shot you, especially since your reputation has been preceding you for a while. The dark element user, right? Honestly, people with your kind of power just make my skin crawl. Change of die today. Munch unleashed a relentless barrage of fire as K desperately scrambled away. K tried closing the gap with quick footwork, but every time he got close, another bullet flew. Crystals erupted from the dirt, blocking his path. Munch bragged that his very blood was pure crystallization. I make rubies and bloodstones on command. With this gun I have got an infinite ammo cheat. How does your trashy dark power even compare? K ducked behind a boulder, his lungs burning. Dark mist began swirling around him as he remembered all the times his recklessness almost got him killed. He knew if he just played defense, his energy would bottom out before the fight even started. Suddenly a goon he already beat down lunged forward and pinned K's arms back, screaming out, "Boss, fire now. I have got him." Didn't hesitate for a second and squeezed the trigger. Now pay attention because this next part is absolutely insane. The bullet hits K dead center. A dark vortex on his forehead swallowed the shot whole. Munch was terrified. I literally shot his brain. K wiped the mist away, his eyes glowing with menace. Because it is my turn. The red-haired gunman froze, unable to process how K was still standing after a point-blank headshot. Stop playing games. That was an armor-piercing round. There is no way you are still standing. How are you acting like nothing happened? He tried convincing himself K was just faking being okay. You are just masking your internal injuries, right? That is the oldest trick in the book, kid. You can't fool me. Even if you block the impact, your insides must be a total wreck right now. K knew the clock was ticking. As long as that guy had a gun, K was just target practice. The bullets weren't a threat anymore, but being a sitting duck was a losing game. He needed a real offensive plan. The atmosphere grew heavy as K crunched the numbers on his power. This form burns through my energy way too fast. I am losing more than I can possibly absorb. If I stay reckless, I am going to empty my tank in seconds. I have got to end this now. K, check this out. K decides it is time to try something totally new to close the gap. He reached out his hand and whispered, "Well then, why don't I give this a shot too? I am going to borrow your move for a second." The red-haired guy just stared, completely lost. That crystallization trick. I feel like giving it a spin. Suddenly his dark energy started to compress inward. It twisted into a sharp, jagged shape that looked like a glitchy copy of his opponent's weapon. But it worked perfectly. A pitch-black spear dripping with raw power manifested, leaving the leader speechless. What? K was hyped. He actually pulled it off. Oh man, I can't believe that actually worked. I was just swinging my fists before, but this weapon finally covers my massive lack of range. Just by watching that crystal ability, he had cracked the code to shaping his own dark energy. K gave him a wicked smirk. Honestly, thanks man, you just taught me a really fun new trick. He hurled the black spear with insane force, sending it screaming through the air toward his target. You jerk! Vunch fired wildly in a panic, but K just swatted those bullets aside. K closed the distance in a flash, sneering at how helpless the gunman looked. Told you it is useless. He gripped the black spear and taunted him. Since we are here, why don't you be my dummy? K vaulted into the sky and slammed a massive strike into the dirt, nearly scaring Munch to death. How this is impossible. The leader realized with a jolt that K was literally mirroring his move. He is copying me exactly. K grinned, wondering what would happen if he tweaked the form a bit. He shifted the energy into a massive blade and delivered a crushing blow that snapped Munch's gun. You and I just saw a legend born. That custom trash. Now, stay tuned for. With one single slash, everything shattered. Stick with me. Let's see if the hell is truly broken or just cursed. K crept closer in total silence, leaving the guy screaming in pure terror. This isn't normal, you're a freakish monster. K exhaled sharply, clearly drained. Man, that took a lot out of me. This skill eats way too much energy. Just one use and I'm gassed. Still, he couldn't deny the sheer destruction that came with it. He was satisfied. Looking at his defenseless enemy, what's the plan now? You've got absolutely nothing left. If you're out of tricks, feel free to charge in and catch these hands instead. Even that would be a waste of time. Wounded pride made the red-haired man explode. Don't you dare look down on me? You absolute trash. He roared like a maniac as pillars of crimson crystal erupted violently from the solid ground. He screamed that his gun was just the beginning. Apparently, his specific color manifest both precious rubies and red iron ore. Even without his weapon, he felt strong enough to slaughter K. His eyes were burning with a terrifying, bloodthirsty intent. The leader lunged forward like a rabid beast, his aura flared up, fueled by a surge of pure violent energy. It looked like he'd just triggered a max-level rage mode. Cornered and desperate, he unleashed a lethal storm of jagged crystals. They rained down right on target. This non-stop ult forced K to keep backing off just to stay in one piece. The heavy impact of those ruby shards triggered blinding explosions all around K's body. It was getting chaotic. In that split second, K focused his dark energy, forging a pitch-black shield over his arm. That solid wall of completely tanked the red-haired man's crystal barrage. Not content with just defending, K used his black power to shatter the incoming crystal masses. He tore through the red energy, closing the gap at a speed that defied logic. Now watch closely, because K is about to end this man's whole career as he breaks through the attack. K appeared right in his face, fist glowing with concentrated force. The distance between them vanished in a heartbeat. A brutal punch buried itself in the man's stomach, making him gasp out K's name in agonizing. K coldly grabbed him by the throat, hoisted him into the air, and slammed him face first into the dirt. Subdued by K's overwhelming strength, the leader could only listen as K coldly asked, "Are we done yet?" He made it clear that this was a disaster of his own making. No one else to blame but himself. The red-haired man was paralyzed by the insane power coming from a rookie. K's existence felt wrong. He started shaking, screaming at the top of his lungs that K was nothing more than a disgusting monster. Because of that black color, he claimed K's power was unnatural. To him, everything about this kid was nightmare fuel. He mockingly asked how K could even live with himself, carrying such a cursed, unlucky color without a single care. Laughing like a total psycho, he shouted that K was just a monster wearing a human skin. K didn't say a word. His stare turned sharp and heavy, radiating pure pressure as he tightened his grip. The leader started sweating buckets. K's eyes were glowing now, staring him down like a predator would a pathetic cornered animal. Suddenly, K let out a dark mocking laugh. He realized this supposedly dangerous opponent had been reduced to pathetic trash talk. K told him he finally understood his mindset. He gripped the man's neck tight and made a chilling promise. "Since you're so obsessed with my power," K whispered, "I'm going to show you exactly what it can really do. You and I both know K isn't playing around." The leader panicked, realizing he'd just walked into a boss fight. K spoke about fairness. "If you're going to covet my things, then I have every right to take yours too." Ignoring the desperate begging, dark energy erupted from K's hand like a volcano. A massive explosion of shadows swallowed everything. The red-haired man had just enough time for one last scream of agony before being dragged down into the night. The world went silent for a moment. K sat there on a pile of unconscious thugs looking pretty pensive. He started worrying, wondering what the hell he should do now. He'd planned to just dip, but this was a mess. Leaving the scene like this would be a disaster. People are curious about weird colors, but they absolutely despise black. If word got out that he'd drained their color and left them mangled, everyone would brand him a monster for real. That's terrifying, he told himself. I can't let it all end on such a bad note like this. K started rummaging through his bag frantically. He had to fix this for himself and for all his hard work. That's it, he thought. He forced the leader's mouth open and started pouring the ink down his throat. "Hey you." As he recovers, K sighs. "You and I just witnessed something wild, didn't we? You and I are jumping back into the action where color literally equals life or death." He kept forcing the ink down. Then he vanished from the scene. It looked like a total war zone, only with a doctor who was way too aggressive. At the east gate, the sentry was paralyzed seeing two unconscious thugs tied up. He was totally confused. "Wait, what? Seriously, what is this? Why are they so drained of color?" Nearby citizens started whispering and spreading rumors. People guessed they burnt all their energy in the dark zone. Meanwhile, our boy K, fully disguised and hidden, had already slipped away into the shadows. "Whew, good thing I didn't get caught," he thought. He knew that pumping them with that specialized ink gave them just enough color to hide his tracks effectively. K figured that if things went south, Captain Red would probably have his back and bail him out. This is a classic move. Commit the crime, then clean up the evidence. His exit was professionally suspicious. K navigated to the mechanic shop and started shouting, "Mary, Mary, Mary!" Mary was right in the middle of something. She spun around to roast him for ghosting everyone for days. "Where have you been?" K just laughed awkwardly. "Sorry about that, I was just handling a mission at the assembly center." Seeing his hyped-up face, Mary got super curious. "What is it?" K smirked with confidence. "You are literally going to lose it when you see this." Boom, he revealed crates of glowing raw color ore. Mary stood there speechless. "Whoa, is that actual raw color ore? And there was so much of it." This was his loot from the mission. He thought of Mary immediately, bringing it back as a special gift. Mary celebrated by hugging K, calling him the absolute goat. She promised to make this ore. Suddenly, K stood cold as a shimmering radiance began to pulse from Mary. It was beautiful. He recognized this warmth. It felt like the light Gale had, but way more brilliant and intense. K was mesmerized by her glow. A girl who always kept smiling despite growing up in the slums. The atmosphere softened. Even in this dusty, broken world, a pure and unconditional source of light still existed. That vibrant aura was the perfect match for her innocent soul. "K, get over here right now." "Now watch this." Mary's about to reveal a project she has been hiding. She announced it proudly. She was crafting a custom, specialized firearm just in case. Gasped. "Wait, are you serious?" Mary bragged that her skills had leveled up, and this new ore would make his gear upgrades a total breeze. Her eyes sparkled like a genius inventor who just unlocked a legendary item. In that wholesome moment, a freezing voice cut through the air. "Heard you survived the dark zone, so this is where you are hiding." Startled, K turned to find Eli and Gale. What are these two doing here, he wondered. Fearing Gale wanted another fight, Eli clarified that Lord Luminous had actually recognized their big achievement. "You and I both know how big this is. They are being summoned for a massive reward." Mary pushed her friend to go because this was a huge deal. Even if he missed her gift, K promised to return. The three rookies made their way toward the prestigious Dawn Vanguard headquarters to meet their fate. Following a staffer, they walked down a massive hallway where a powerful figure waited at the very end. K stepped inside the headquarters and was instantly blown away by the scale. This place was insane. He stared at the legendary exploration trophies displayed on every wall. Eventually, they were led into the main office. A woman with bright pink hair greeted them warmly. "So you are the ones everyone in the city is talking about lately?" She introduced herself as Camellia, the captain of the Vanguard, leaving K totally stunned and speechless. He never expected the Supreme Commander to be so young. It felt like a small fish meeting a shark. Camellia was a living legend, one of the few elites in the city with incredible polychromatic powers. She mentioned she was shocked when Captain Red praised these rookies, especially K, the first black color wielder. Captain Red had praised the rookies, especially K, the first user of the color black, which sent ripples through the upper echelon. The serious vibe died instantly when she sipped her tea and spat it everywhere because it was way too bitter. Laven, I specifically told you to bring me something sweet like cocoa. Laven could only sigh in frustration. He reminded the captain to keep her cool since the new recruits were watching. Her cool image was gone. So what do you and I take from this? Even legendary commanders have their awkward moments. Pretty wild, right? Alright, you and I are about to witness the moment the Vanguard team finally collects their hard-earned rewards. Laven handed over elite security cards, a V-perk straight from the top brass for the crew. The cards were loaded with salaries and bonuses, leaving Kay absolutely speechless at the total balance. Wait, seriously? He gasped, realizing this insane payday made buying a house as easy as breathing. The cash was just the start, as the squad officially secured their promotion to C-rank status. No more rookie probation. Camellia confirmed they now held elite privileges throughout the entire city. Even better, they gained exclusive access to the legendary color mixing workshop for some god-tier gear. Gale and Eli were shook because even the highest nobles usually have to beg for a spot here. Camellia explained this Lumina District hub was the holy grail for maintaining and designing top-tier equipment. It was the ultimate playground for Chroma users, delivering rewards far beyond what the team ever imagined. Eli and Gale couldn't stop grinning with smug satisfaction as Camellia gave them a warm welcome. She pledged her full support, emphasizing the desperate need for warriors strong enough to brave the terrifying and encroaching dark zone. Her expression darkened as she revealed the cold truth about their recently recovered prize. Now listen closely, that star fragment is the only thing keeping the entire City of Light from crumbling into nothing. Labeling them the new kids, Camellia admitted she expects some truly explosive feats from them very soon. Kay left the headquarters on Cloud 9, his excitement radiating with every step. This massive morale boost had him ready to rush out and crush 10 more quests right now. He leaned in to whisper to Nero. Today was a complete win. He still couldn't believe he had climbed to C rank this fast. Thinking of the rewards and his crew, Kay knew joining the Pioneers was the best move he ever made. He couldn't wait to share the good news with Marine, but his whole vibe shifted the very second he reached the shop. Kay froze at the sight of the door wide open, stepping inside with a heavy gut feeling. Pure chaos greeted him. Tools and machines were trashed everywhere, and his earlier happiness vanished under a wave of total darkness. You saw that coming, right? This sudden nightmare has his heart sinking into his stomach. While Kay stands paralyzed with fear, absolute hell is breaking loose at the eastern fortress under a terrifying, screaming night sky. A frantic commander shouted orders as monsters from the abyss began flooding through the illusions. Reinforcements. This and the clashing of steel filled the air as the battlefield turned into carnage. Take out the giants first. Desperate soldiers wondered if this endless nightmare would ever actually stop. Even with their fierce counterattack, the soldiers' spirits started to break under the relentless, crushing pressure. High above, a green-haired girl watched the slaughter with a cold, terrifying smirk on her face. Go ahead and struggle. She laughed, mocking the humans as they fought for their pathetic lives. If you can't even handle this little warm-up, I'm going to be seriously disappointed. This entire massacre, just a boring little prelude to what's really coming, she muttered to herself. Watching the monsters tear things apart, she clicked her tongue, clearly unimpressed by the slow progress. Squashing these weaklings is a total waste of time. I need to scrub this disgusting, filthy city clean for good. With a calculating glint in her eyes, she decided she'd have to head down there once more. The white-haired sword demon scoffed, asking if she was actually looking for a death sentence by heading back to the city. After mocking her ego, he dropped a crucial hint. Fine, I guess I can share the secret of the hidden path with you. A cramped passage hidden beneath the eastern fortress leads directly down into the terrifying heart of the abyss. The girl smirked, claiming she'd found something incredibly useful deep within those dark shadows. Ever heard of the underground city? Meanwhile, back at the shop, Kay is staring at the total and absolute ruin of his friend's life. Everything was shattered to pieces on the floor, sending a wave of pure dread through his soul. Kay sprinted through the wreckage, his voice cracking as he screamed Marine's name into the void. He searched every corner with desperate eyes. Marine. Seeing the ransacked mess, he knew something was wrong. She was nowhere to be found, and a terrifying thought began to take root in his mind. Stick with me, we're about to see Kay hunt down whoever took his friend in a blind rage. Alright, stick with me because Kay is about to lose it as he stares into the empty, silent room. Visions of Marine's smile clashing with her in total danger flood his mind, leaving him absolutely paralyzed with fear. He swears history won't repeat itself, but a sudden sharp meow snaps him right back into the moment. The sound slices through a spiraling panic, right as the tension hits its peak, an unlikely ally appears. Kay blinks and spins around, spotting Nero, his black cat, poking his head out from hiding. The cat springs onto the workbench, clearly signaling something important. Kay moves closer, his confusion growing fast. Right there, tucked between the rusted tools, lies a familiar mechanical gadget. It is exactly what he suspected. He instantly recognizes Marine's signature gear, and a heavy cold dread starts sinking into his very soul. Nero ran all this way for a reason. The cat looks dead serious, more than ever before. If Nero could speak, he would be screaming for help. Kay wastes no time activating his inverted eyes. A flood of brilliant white light washes over the room, revealing faint, glowing threads of lingering energy everywhere. He spots a recognizable aura. It is the exact same hue as the power that flows from Marine. Kay realizes what his feline companion is doing. No wonder you were so desperate for me to see this. Now you and I need to watch closely as Kay suppresses his burning anxiety to remain stone cold. He shuts down his useless emotions. It was definitely those same villains who had been hunting him down. The warning about that shadowy organization flashes in his mind. These guys just do not know when to quit. Gritting his teeth, he growls into the empty air, promising that these lowlifes have finally signed their death warrants. Only pure concern for his best friend remains. Hang on just a bit longer, Marine. I'm on my way. His eyes lock onto the specialized weapon Marine was building. He is going to use it to its limit. He slides the heavy mechanical gauntlet onto his hand, bracing himself for the life or death fight ahead. His resolve is through the roof. This is not just a battle anymore, it is a full-scale rescue. The armor fits like a glove, and K feels a rush of raw power surging through every single nerve. It is perfectly calibrated, boosting his output instantly. He can feel the massive power difference coursing through his arm. Tendrils of pitch-black energy begin to coil around his limb as K lets out a confident breath. A long drawn-out war will be no issue, he signals his small partner. It is time to… Nero senses the high-tier gear, his face a mask of absolute unwavering lethal intent. His dark shadow glides through the filthy narrow slum alleys, disappearing between the mossy crumbling brick walls. He breezes past the exhausted homeless people lining the streets, completely ignoring their suspicious, judgmental stares. His focus is laser-targeted on his singular objective. Crossroad K comes to a dead halt. The glowing energy trail just vanished. Then his eyes lock onto a dark, gaping pit. Check this out with me. This iron ladder leads to a secret lair that is way too close for comfort. Descending the rungs, K is shocked to find a massive crowd of vagrants huddled in the shadows. That explains why the streets were so crowded lately. Suddenly a massive hulking figure steps into his path. The giant laughs mockingly, bragging about being right while telling K is lucky he stopped where he did. K faces down the gang of strangers as their leader grinds his teeth, letting out a low growl. You better not have forgotten who I am. He drills his hateful gaze right into K's eyes. Old debts need settling and the tension is thick. K simply asks one cold question, where is The boss explodes in a blind fury, screaming that he has no clue where the girl is. Why would I ever tell you? You should be way more worried about your own skin right now. He fusses over his past defeat, blaming K for his current pathetic and miserable life in the dirt. After being forced into the filthiest work, he hisses that his only reason for living all this time was to witness this day of vengeance. Do you even realize the level of hatred I have for you? Balance wants you alive, but they never said anything about keeping your bones in one piece. You are paying me back with interest today. Everyone move in, crush him into the ground. Trust me, you and I are about to see some real carnage. As the thugs charge, K forms a jet black blade from pure shadow and prepares for war. Alright, you and I are about to watch K unleash absolute hell. He moves so fast that these can only catch a glitchy shadow with a loading icon. He lunges like a ghost, his blade shredding through the air. Cutting down everyone in his way, his terrifying speed absolutely shatters the enemy group's entire formation in one blink. The leader shrieked, "Is he crazy? What is this monster?" He frantically powered up his weapon right now, blasting a wave of toxic green energy. But K just stands there, stopping the beam with his bare. The blast dies right in front of his face. The leader's eyes pop as he realizes that K's power level has completely evolved. Before he can blink, lands a punch that sends him flying. That hit was so brutal you'd want to write your will just from watching. K keeps stepping forward, grabbing the guy's collar, feeling different than last time, right? Honestly, I am not a fan of, but for trash that kidnaps innocent people?
Yeah, do not expect a single drop.
Glancing at the thugs groaning on the floor, K coldly says, "Some of you will never walk again." He stares at the losers with ice in his eyes. But hey, isn't this your own fault? Be glad you are even breathing. K yanks the leader close, spitting out the word, "A pioneer doing this kind of bottom-tier dirty work? It is honestly totally pathetic. Scum like you don't deserve the light." The green-haired guy is literally dripping sweat right now from pure terror. He gasps out a desperate wait before his screams rip through the dark, damp basement. K is not stopping. "You are coming with me," he growls. "I need a guide for the pit down there." Ignoring the pathetic begging, K drags him toward the edge of the massive hole, no hesitation at all. Pay attention here, this is where it gets wild. K dives into the darkness, taking the leader down. Only a tiny glow glimmers at the very bottom as they fall. K thinks, "Never thought I'd be back." Suddenly, a jaw-dropping view opens city. Of titanic pillars and tangled pipes, it is a glowing metropolis buried deep beneath the earth, stretching endlessly. K and his hostage look like ants against the scale of this massive underworld. They head toward the center. K shoves the guide's shoulder hard. "Move it and do not get cute. Pick up the pace and do not try anything stupid." The guy can only grit his teeth and take it. "You think you can mess with the boss's crew and live? What can one guy possibly do coming here alone? You are basically a walking corpse already." K snaps, grabbing him by the throat until he is choking. The threat is loud and clear. K's eyes flare with a deadly light. "Still talking big? Guess you still don't get your situation. Shut up and keep walking before I end you. If even one hair on Marine's head is hurt, you and your little friends will regret ever being born." His voice is way too calm, it is terrifying. Let's be real, you would be shaking in your boots too if K looked at you like that. The guide stutters, "I get it." They walk through the crowd as whispers start buzzing everywhere. "Is that some gang That guy's colors are so weird. Shh, do not let them see you." K looks around, thinking this place is exactly the same. Not a single thing has changed. It is a city of shadows, a place the light of Luminous cannot reach, filled with the worst thugs. Laws do not exist here. The colorless survive by working those underground mines just to barely stay alive. K pauses. This exact spot where he first crossed paths with Marine. The guide looks at K and mumbles a curse. A nasty, wicked grin starts to cross his face. "Go ahead, enjoy your last moments. I am just the delivery boy. You walked right into our… You idiot. This building will be your grave." As they stop before a ruined structure, a deep, raspy voice booms, "So you finally showed up." Shadows shift as strangers emerge. "I have been waiting forever for you." I was starting to grow roots. In the buzzing crowd, everyone starts throwing insults at K right now. "Look at him, he is black." Another sneer about his gloomy color like coal or a vat of ink. The leader, wearing dark goggles and a helmet, speaks coldly. "Finally you have arrived." The guide scurries to his boss. "Trust me, you and I are about to see things explode next. Stick with me. We're about to see what happens when you push the wrong guy to his limit." Seeing his soldier turned pale and useless, the boss growled, "Your color's gone again, hasn't it? Listen up. Those without color are trash." The guide shook, begging for mercy, but the boss didn't care at all. Your chance is up, which means you're worthless now, he snapped. He sounded so cold and final. You'd almost expect him to ask for termination papers right then. He swung his arm with zero hesitation, shattering the underling before spitting in disgust. What a total waste of time on this piece of garbage. Through all that brutality, Kay stayed ice cold. You're still the same as always, he muttered calmly. You haven't changed a bit. He locked eyes with his enemy and demanded, I'm here now, so tell me. Where is Marine? The boss just smirked, oozing arrogance. Huh? You clearly don't understand the situation. Who do you think actually has the upper hand here? He looked so confident, it was like he already booked a front row seat to watch Kay get demolished. He sneered that if Kay had just played along, this would have been finished. He growled like a predator, the more you resist, the harder it gets to. Find that Marine girl. He let out a twisted manic laugh. By now, who knows what's happened to her? Trust me, what Kay does next is absolutely legendary. A lethal aura exploded from Kay. Fine then, he whispered, I'll just burn this entire place to ashes. Kay's eyes glowed bright white as shadows erupted from his arm, forming a massive vortex of dark power. The energy swallowed him whole. The terrified leader screamed, What the hell is that? A massive explosion ripped through the air, launching thugs everywhere, through the smoke and rubble. Kay stood tall against hundreds of enemies. The noise was so loud it reached the main office. A frantic guard burst in, yelling, Boss, we've got a massive problem. The black one is going berserk. He begged his boss to see the madness unfolding for himself. Things were spiraling out of control. The branch leader, long-haired and panicked, shrieked, Stop him! Block him for me, you bunch of idiots! He screamed at his men to hold the line until the heavy hitters arrived on the scene. But Kay's power was just too much. These thugs were basically human punching for his pure rage. You hit this soft? Punching bags at the gym would have quit by now. He was just warming up. They were sent flying like ragdolls, making their commander cry out, He's a literal monster, unstoppable. What's all this noise? Why are you all playing around? A deep, gravelly voice echoed through the chaos. A massive tattooed beast appeared. The long-haired guy cheered instantly. Finally, the branch manager is here. The big boss walked forward, clearly disappointed his entire caught so easily by a single kid. You and I both knew it'd come to this. He looked at the wreckage and let out a disappointed sigh. He stared down at Kay, standing alone amidst a graveyard of defeated men. He surveyed the wreckage and mocked his group's reputation, the underworld's finest, totally crushed in minutes. What a pathetic bunch. Feeling Kay's freezing glare, the manager realized this kid was actually the real deal. High-level strength. He started cracking his knuckles, ready to fight. A nearby lackey taunted, You're so dead now, kid. Just so you know, our boss was an A-rank pro. He was convinced Kay stood zero. If you just listened when we were being nice, you'd be fine. Too late for regrets now. The battle exploded as the massive manager charged like a hurricane. But Kay wasn't backing down either. He surged power into his legs and lunged. An earth-shattering clash happened right in midair, sending shockwaves that cracked the concrete floor below. Both fighters were giving it their absolute all. Kay threw a lethal punch, but the manager blocked it just in time, wearing a cocky grin. Nice moves, kid. Kay held his ground, his eyes sharp and focused entirely on his target. His glare was so intense, anyone caught in the middle would have probably passed out from the pressure. The giant growled, channeling every ounce of strength into his massive tattooed fist. He swung a punch heavy enough to crush mountains. Kay couldn't move and was sent flying backward. Kay struggled out of the rubble, clutching his trembling arm as he tried to catch his breath, but the manager lunged for the kill. Stick with me, because this is just the beginning. Watch closely. Kay dodges that strike and gets right in his face, slamming his mechanical gauntlet onto the guy's chest. Kay unleashes every bit of his dark energy right now. The branch manager freezes in pure terror, panicking and wondering what on earth is happening to him. Now pay attention here. He feels a cold chill as his very soul starts draining away from him. That shadowy power is literally devouring his color and energy while he sits there just gritting his teeth. He lets out a scream of pure agony before glaring at Kay with total resentment and roaring at it. The manager sneers, mocking the disgusting black color and those weird tricks as if they suit Kay perfectly. Let's see what happens as the manager gets serious and shatters the ground with his true power. Years of suppressed power erupt, turning his body into a massive giant covered in spiky rock. Absolutely insane, right? Alright, stick with me because you're about to witness one of the coldest final boss transformations ever. Kay stood silently observing his opponent. Controlling this energy is a total nightmare. He struggled internally. It is still not enough, he realized with gritted teeth. His old combat style was useless now. He needed a sharper, more lethal weapon to shatter his enemy's massive stone armor. Kay gripped his mechanical gauntlet. A violent surge of dark energy exploded, swallowing his entire body. The branch manager gasped in absolute shock. What? He started shaking uncontrollably. First time ever he felt an icy, suffocating, killing intent. He wondered in pure terror, is this the power of black? Suddenly countless pitch-black swords and spears appeared. They manifested out of thin air, forming an oppressive, deadly forest of jagged weapons. There were so many, it looked like a clearance sale for the entire world's deadliest military arsenal. Kay's eyes ignited with a brilliant white glow as he glared coldly. The underground city battle erupted with violent force. Brutal clashes began shaking the very air. With his eyes still burning white, Kay launched himself forward. He charged for the kill, making the manager grit his teeth. Damn it, what a massive pain. Now pay attention, because the sight of black weapons rising from the earth is totally insane. What the hell kind of power is this? Kay swung the black blade with terrifying force, closing the distance with an overwhelming desire to kill. Moving with godlike speed, he swung an arc that sliced through space itself, aiming right for that solid stone armor. Shards of rock shattered under that dark power, leaving the giant barely enough time to scream in total shock. Kay didn't give him a single second to breathe, weaving past those 1,000-ton punches. He spun around and struck his chest. Kay's assault was a relentless storm. His black sword crashed against the enemy's defense over and over again. The manager groaned in agony, realizing the terrifying truth. This little brat, he is only aiming for my head. The attacks came so fast it looked like he was spamming a broken skill with zero cooldown time. The fighter tried to counter, but K was way too fast. He unleashed a barrage of razor-sharp slashes. Large chunks of stone armor around his head began to crumble. The giant trembled in fear. He realized his enhanced body was being torn apart with effortless ease. It was an absolute horror show. Those black swords looked fragile, but each one acted like a straw, frantically siphoning away his precious power and color. With his pride shattered, the night manager let out a desperate roar. Damn it, I am the manager of the night. I cannot possibly lose to this brat. He funneled all his power into a massive stone spike arm and charged. A black-colored piece of trash like you dares. The manager roared like an absolute madman. I do not care what anyone says anymore. He swung his giant fist and screamed, just die already. One swing so devastating it would make anyone want to quit their job forever. His legendary special move, Angle of Destruction, erupted violently. The earth shook, flattening nearby buildings and leaving a massive deep crater in the broken ground. Now you and I knew he'd survive, but the fighter was stunned to see K still standing there. He could not believe his ultimate attack was blocked. The solid stone armor on his arm began to crack and fail. Pieces crumbled away to the owner's horror. The manager was utterly lost. What is happening? He felt his energy being sucked. Everything was vanishing into K's black vortex. My color, it is being absorbed by him. The tables turned so fast that before he could process the situation, he was already being completely erased. How many abilities did this kid have? Creating weapons and stealing color at the same time, it was unreal. Though terrified, he tried to stay calm and find a way to counterattack. He planned one last strike with his remaining strength, but suddenly he froze in total confusion. Huh? The panicked fighter touched his face and screamed. What? I cannot see anything. Exploiting his opponent's blindness, K launched forward like a bullet. His speed was truly terrifying. He delivered a crushing punch straight to the face, sending the giant flying across the battlefield. The manager collapsed, groaning in shocked agony. Feeling his strength fade away, he fell into total despair. Why am I dying like this? Is it because of that black color? He gritted his teeth and cursed K. You damned brat, using that color like it is some kind of poison, he roared with his last breath. Facing all that fury, just asked a scornful question. But that cold reply was boss level. Trust me, you and I should take a lesson from this. Never expect a fair fight from a legend like K. Alright, you and I are about to see just how terrifying Kai can really be as he declares his cold-blooded victory. He seizes the manager by the throat, literally sucking the life out of him until the man lets out a bone-chilling scream of pure agony. Watching this nightmare unfold, Singh can only stand there and shake, paralyzed by the sheer brutality happening right in front of him. My manager is done for, he shrieks at Kai in absolute horror, calling him monster while standing among the smoking ruins. Kai looms over the wreckage, eyes glowing a ghostly white and radiating a pressure that feels like a literal god of death has arrived. The manager is left as a hollow, colorless shell. The silence in the air is so heavy it feels like fear itself is holding its breath. Kai stalks away, leaving nothing but trauma for those who survived. He looks back once, face cast in shadow, looking like a total... His aura is so freezing that nobody even dares to take a breath. Meanwhile, in another dark, isolated corner of this world, Mary slowly starts to wake up. Her head is pounding and she can barely keep her eyes open from the pain. Ugh, my head! She groans, clutching her skull as she tries to make sense of her surroundings. She blinks, trying to focus in an empty, cold room where a single lonely spotlight is aimed directly at her. Where am I? She whispers, her voice trembling. Just as she starts to panic in the darkness, a creepy voice cuts through the air. Stick with me here, because a voice from the past just whispered, so you are finally awake, I have been waiting for you. Mary is shook. Who are you? The stranger doesn't even look up, just flips through a file and mutters to himself. How fascinating. Who would have guessed a colorless person like you would end up being this much of a high priority target? He sounds so casual, like he is reading a grocery list instead of talking to a victim. So Kai color manifested late, did it? I heard that was a rare condition. He stares at the photo of Kai puzzled, but what is up with that look on his face? It is almost like he actually human feelings. Hearing those words, a realization hits Mary like a ton of bricks. That voice, it can't be. Memories of children being dragged away years ago flash through her mind and her blood turns to ice. The man with the glasses gives a wicked grin. Blank, Mary gasps. He just chuckles, looking like he is having the time of his life. So you remember me, Mary? Long time no see. Blank, the monster holding Kai fate in his hands. Mary is absolutely stunned. You survived? Blank just shrugs. Haha, it was a close one, I will give you that. I really thought I was a goner when the whole place collapsed on top of me. He remembers being buried under the stone, thinking about how lucky he was to breathe again. I guess I am just too stubborn to die. Blank walks toward her, dripping with sarcasm about their little reunion. He admits he could never forget her or Kai because they were his most precious research projects. You were my very first test subjects, after all. He ignores her terrified face, bragging about how his work has finally paid off. The big boss finally recognized my genius. I am now officially the strategist of the darkness, he declares with pride. Don't just sit there, come on. I have so much to show you, Blank says, sounding way too excited to show her his progress. He sounds like a kid showing off a new toy collection, but we know it is something worse. Suddenly the room floods with light. You and I both knew this lab was bad, but this massive chamber is absolute nightmare fuel for me. She sees giant tubes filled with glowing liquid and human bodies, while below innocent people in chains are weeping in the shadows. Masked guards patrol the floor while Mary stares in iron cages filled with snarling, sharp-toothed monsters. It is a factory of pure misery. Her face is drenched in cold sweat as she shakes with fear. Oh no, this is worse than my worst dream. I can't believe a place this hellish actually exists. A subordinate walks up with a tray of glowing purples and reports to Lord Blank. These are the final extracts, sir. Blank takes them with a smug grin. Perfect timing. Let us see how this batch performs. Are you really going to do what you did back then? Mary screams in rage. Blank just smirks at her, completely unfazed. Of course I am. It would be a total waste not to use something this powerful. He holds up the purple vial. his eyes gleaming with pure madness. "Welcome home, Mary. Welcome to the future of my new extraction system." Suddenly, Kai lets out a roar as he finally sees the bottle of special grade ink. Chaos erupts instantly. Massive explosions and pillars of smoke rock the entire neighborhood in the middle of the night, turning the streets into a war zone. People are fleeing for their lives, their screams filling the air. "Get out of the way." Everyone is running for cover. It looks like a high-budget action movie, but there is no director here to call cut on this real-life nightmare. "Damn those thugs for starting trouble again." A middle-aged man yells as he runs, "Hurry before we all get caught in the crossfire." Kai emerges from the dust like a vengeful ghost, dragging two beaten enemies behind him. He approaches a dark tunnel with a chilling stare. "So what do you and I think? Is Kai going to get the truth out of this trembling man? Tell me where Mary is." "Alright, you and I are watching this absolute coward stammer that the girl is inside while he pathetically begs to leave this nightmare." "I did everything you wanted without stalling," he whines right before Kay knocks his lights out permanently with a heavy strike. Kay softly summons Nero and a small black puff of shadow immediately pops out from under his collar to greet him. It looks like a cute little pet, but don't let that fool you. Its main job is leading the way into battle. "Show me where Marine is." Kay commands in a low growl, getting an eager yip from the little shadow beast as it prepares to scout. He smirks, thanking his little partner, but the moment of peace ends as the guards finally spot his location in the dark. "Get him." The guards scream from the rafters, telling everyone to swarm the intruder and take him down right now. An aggressive mob armed with jagged, crude weapons begins flooding down the stairs in a desperate attempt to stop him. "I'm not wasting a second on weaklings like you when Marine is still in serious danger," Kay snaps at the crowd. Kay channels a massive surge of dark energy into his mechanical arm, preparing a devastating counterattack against the incoming mob. "I'm smashing straight through all of you," he declares, unleashing his most powerful and lethal technique at the charging crowd of guards. "Watch closely, because this annihilator punch is about to level every single obstacle in his path." A massive explosion rocks the entire underground base while the guards let out one final desperate scream of pure terror. "No way, someone stop this insane monster before he kills us all," the terrified survivors cry out from the rubble. With eyes cold as ice, Kay charges forward like a bullet while we cut deep into the heart of the laboratory. "You are a complete psycho," Marine screams, gritting her teeth in absolute fury at the monster standing right before her. "Why do you keep doing this?" she yells, but Lang just looks back with a fake annoying look of total surprise. "Why have that angry look?" he asks, walking casually toward her with a voice that sounds absolutely sick and twisted in this dark laboratory. "I am actually very grateful to all of you," he sneers, "because your bodies served as the perfect test subjects for my research to advance rapidly." "Honestly, you and I both know this guy's grateful tone deserves a massive fist to the mouth." Lang gestures toward a massive machine, announcing that the extraction process is currently in full swing right now. "It is much better to see the horror with your own eyes than to just hear about it. Do you not agree?" Guards brutally drag a trembling old man toward the chamber while he begs for his life in vain against their strength. "I do not want to die," the man wails, before a guards club silences his pleas with a heavy brutal "Shut up and get inside," the guard barks, tossing the screaming man into the dark heart of the extraction machine. "I am begging you to spare me," the man shrieks until the heavy iron door slams shut with a loud thud. The machine whirs to life, belching white smoke as a stream of thick red liquid begins to flow through the pipes. The gruesome fluid moves through the glass pipes, slowly filling up a tiny vial with someone's extracted life essence. Marine stands frozen in pure disgust, realizing this place is still just as gloomy and terrifying as her worst nightmare. He remembers his past failures, staring at the vials of gray liquid that once represented his total lack of real progress. "I was way too naive in the beginning and could not extract any color at all, wasting every single one of those precious samples. But then I looked at the adult awakeners and saw the incredible hidden potential locked deep within their souls. I wondered what would happen if I tried to rip that latent ability right out of their living bodies. Success beyond my wildest dreams," he says, sounding like he's giving a normal research presentation to a room of scholars. Except the volunteers weren't willing, and it wasn't just humans. Even giant monsters were turned into raw materials for him. "I am not limited to just people, I can harvest the essence from monsters as well," Lang brags arrogantly. "Look how brilliant I am, transforming worthless trash into these magnificent and wondrous colors of power. I truly believe this is their very soul and core essence, and I have every single right to extract it for my own use. I'm doing them a favor by helping them awaken their buried value so it can finally shine its absolute brightest." Lang holds the vial high, declaring that his extraction ability has finally reached a state of absolute perfection. "The culmination of years of relentless research stands before you, and we are finally looking at the absolute final result." "The hybrid seed," he wisps, gazing passionately at the swirling purple liquid held tightly in his trembling hand. "Monsters that emit signals are drawn to these colors," Lang explains, clearly obsessed with his twisted new discovery. "I can't control them perfectly yet, but it works," he laughs, while Marine screams at his utter madness. "You people are insane perverts," Marine screams, "and trust me, you and I are going to love seeing her get revenge. Stick with me. We are about to watch a lunatic feed living people into an extraction machine. All for this freakish creation. Did you seriously think the council would turn a blind eye to these horrific crimes?" Her fury hit its peak, but hearing her insults, Lang just smirked. "I knew you would give me a show. Honestly, I don't see the problem here. My work is just way ahead of its time, light years beyond you. Small minds like yours just cannot grasp my genius, such a waste." Marine had finally reached her absolute breaking point. She screamed right at him, "Shut your mouth. You are nothing but a sick, twisted murderer with no soul." "Soul essence? What kind of garbage is that? You are completely delusional and insane. If you are so hooked on colors, why not pull them from your own rotting corpse? I am sure it is pitch black." "It is the color of a lunatic who only cares about his own dark fantasies." That was a lethal direct hit. Pure, raw honesty. Suddenly the smug look on Lang's face faded into a cold, dark stare. Pay attention here, this is where he reveals his truly sick obsession. Is that what you think? Marine froze. What? Lang peeled off his glove, revealing the truth. He has been experimenting on his own body. I built this. You really thought I would not test the tech on myself first? This research is my entire life. The second I perfected the process, I went for it. I became my own first subject for the extraction. Normally, testing your product sounds professional, but here, it is enough to make your blood run ice cold for real. He flashed his robotic arm, his left eye glowing with a haunting neon purple light. Look at my color, it is glorious. I am guarding this masterpiece with my life until the perfect moment arrives. Maybe it will be useful later. Marine clutched her head, drowning in pure horror and total despair. Hey, I am begging you, just shut up. I do not give a damn about your freakish stories. Stop talking right now. Lang just cackled with pure joy. Haha, I got a bit carried away, but we are having a chat, aren't we? You felt that too, right? Everything changes now that Kay has finally entered this underground city. Marine's eyes nearly popped out. Lang bragged that kidnapping her was the only way to bait Kay into the open. The first master of the black color has arrived. He mocked Kay, who always followed her like a shadow. To him, Marine was just the bait to lead Kay straight to the grave. Lang was positive that despite Kay's power, Kay stood no chance against the massive army waiting to slaughter him outside. It was a total lethal death trap. He barked at his guards, drag her away. We will settle this when the hero finally shows his face. Marine fought back hard. You freaks, don't you dare touch me. He walked away to prep for his guest and check a massive shipment of hybrid seeds for a client. Suddenly, a ground-shaking roar ripped through the lab, froze, stunned by the vibration. That sound, that tremor, what on earth was that? Then the ceiling shattered, followed by a massive, blinding explosion. The guards panicked, screaming to watch out as the roof caved in. Smoke and debris filled the entire room. What the hell is happening? Then, a massive shadow landed hard. Marine looked up through the haze as a familiar figure stood tall among the ruins. It was finally him. Kay stood there in a cold, defiant pose, locking eyes with his enemy, the ultimate hero entrance, no words needed. Everyone's eyes were on him. Marine cried out his name in pure relief.
Back at the High Council.
Counselor Hookson lost his cool, slamming the table. What is that high-priority subject doing down there right now? Camellia rushed to report. He has infiltrated the underground city and is currently tearing through the Shadow Organization to save her. According to the scouts, Kay has already leveled multiple enemy sectors on his own. He is on an absolute rampage. Hookson lashed out at Camellia for losing control, but she stood her ground. She had a perfectly valid excuse. She insisted her team was watching him closely, and they had not been lazy. They were just completely overwhelmed. Their forces were spread dangerously thin because of strange events on the borders. There was simply no backup available. Pulling reinforcements from other sectors was proving impossible. The entire city's defense was on the verge of collapsing. Everything is a total disaster. Between resource mining and city safety, our soldiers are pushed way past their limits. When Huxon asked about Red, Camellia confirmed he was also battling Collector 10 and the Butcher right now. Huxon gritted his teeth. Trust me, you and I are about to see a total war. You and I are jumping right into the heat as he orders security to protect Kay, but another councilman object. He argued that rushing troops into the underground city would only provoke the local gangs and escalate the chaos. He warned that the color alchemists and other renegades were far too powerful to underestimate. If a full-scale war broke out now, it would plunge the entire city into absolute destruction. This guy was also deeply suspicious of Kay and his dangerous shadow power. He claimed his original assessment of the boy was totally correct, and he shuddered thinking about the disasters Kay might cause later. To be blunt, he saw Kay as a walking time bomb rather than an asset. This was the perfect chance to eliminate him completely just by standing back and watching. While Camellia remained tensely silent, Haxon stood his ground, insisting they had to intervene. He made it clear that was the only one capable of shattering the barrier. They had to protect him, no matter the risk or potential cost. They had to trust what Lady Luminous saw in him. Haxon declared he would take full responsibility for his own judgment, to gamble on the future Kay could create. The monocled councilman just sneered at him with total disdain. He mocked Haxon for reaching the council with such a weak color, calling his judgment absolutely terrible and a total shame. Haxon stayed calm. Refrabge, indeed, it truly is a shame. I will work even harder to meet your expectations. Without another word, the councilman stood up, grabbed his cane and walked out, calling the meeting a waste of time. He left behind a room thick with tension. Even with him gone, the drama remained. Camellia looked at Haxon and told him he was worrying far too much. She promised to help put those worries to rest, declaring that she and the security team were ready to move. They would mobilize the Red Team, the same elite group that proved themselves during that first intense expedition. Camellia confidently asked if that was enough to ease his mind. After thinking it over for a long moment, Haxon finally agreed. He told her to handle it cleanly and make sure the city stayed safe from the fallout. Now watch this. Back at the chaos, Marine screams Kay's name in joy while Blanca stands there completely stunned. He can't believe his eyes. How did Kay get past all his guards? He realized things were about to get bad. Kay's face is stone cold, his eyes burning with pure lethal intent. He knows Marine's safety is his only priority. He'll end this fast. Before they can even blink, Kay channels massive power into his mechanical arm, extending those razor-sharp claws. He unleashes black arms, a devastating wave of dark energy that shreds everything. Blanca can only scream in absolute horror. Guards are sent flying everywhere, howling in pain. The sweep was so smooth and clean. It looked like he was just taking out the trash. The force of the strike shattered every containment pod nearby. Experimental fluid spills across the floor, but Kay doesn't stop. He lunges forward like a bolt of black lightning. Moving with insane speed, he dives down like a whirlwind, crushing two guards before they can even realize it. He lands right in front of Marine, shielding her amidst the wreckage. Just by standing there, he's like an unbreakable fortress. You and I can feel Marine's relief as she whispers his name. He looks back, apologizing for being late. He gently asks if she's been waiting for a long time. Suddenly, Nero leaps down into Marine's arms, giving her a shock. She cradles the little creature, smiling through her tears. She apologizes for making them both worry so much. She thanks them for coming. While Kay stays serious, a loud shout echoes nearby, telling everyone to run. They have to move now while the guards are down. The other prisoners start shouting to each other, rushing through the massive doors. This is their only chance to escape. Watching from afar, Blanca clicks his tongue in annoyance, watching his test subjects vanish. He curses as they all make a run for it. He looks at his gear, telling himself it doesn't matter because he still has plenty of other unfinished experiments. He'll just find new materials later. He turns Kay with that signature, twisted smile of his. He tells Kay it's good to see him again, having looked forward to this ever since he got that color. Surviving with that color makes him a rare specimen. Meeting him in person like this is just too exhilarating. Trust me, you and I are watching a total creep right now. He sounds more like a fan than an enemy. Alright, you and I are about to dive into a showdown that's absolutely unhinged. Just look at Blang licking his lips as he eyes Kay's essence. Kay stares him down, cold and disgusted. Seriously. Face looks familiar, but the vibe is just trash. Just another yapping villain, right? Kay literally cannot place him until his companion finally drops the reveal. It's Blang, the psycho who nearly drained them dry before. Kay locks eyes with those manic pupils, feeling a hint of genuine doubt. He survived that total carnage. Blang just smirks, his voice dripping with that annoying high-tier sarcasm. How rude. Obviously still in the game, he shows off vials of glowing essence like they're some sick trophies. Consider that our reunion greeting, he sneers. I've got business to discuss. Honestly, who'd want a gift from this freak? Blang grins like a demon and hurls the vial straight at him. Heads up, here's a little present for you. The glass shatters at Kay's feet, catching him off guard. Marine screams a warning, sensing the danger immediately. Kay, look out. That stuff is pure bait for the monster. Kay's face goes hard as he looks toward the distance. Blang is chilling by a control panel, looking way too smug. He admits he's never been a fan of getting his own hands dirty. He gestures to the iron cages and says those beasts might not kill Kay, but they'll definitely drain his tank. Talk about a dirty play. Think you can handle it? Blang slams over down, feeding time, and nothing but absolute bloodthirsty roars. Now watch closely, because things are about to go from bad to worse as those iron gates swing wide open. A tidal wave of starving monsters surges toward Kay. He doesn't flinch, instantly channeling raw darkness into his mechanical arm. He dives headfirst into the horde, his blade carving through the air with massive lethal arcs. This is pure combat poetry. Shadow energy rips through those mutated freaks in a literal blink of an eye. Our man is soloing the entire server right now. Those new spawns barely have time as they're already dead. Blangjin sighs like a disappointed teacher. Test Kay, you're being so messy. Why are you wasting such high-quality specimens? He's actually mad about the monsters dying. He mumbles some insane theory while the fight rages. Usually, power just evaporates after wrong. But for him, it's different. He triggers and it sucks the black energy from Kay's slashes into a vial. He lets out a manic laugh. Just look at that color, it's pure black. His eyes shine like he pulled a 5-star drop. We're just missing that legendary tag. He stares at the thick liquid. Finally, he whispers, I actually have it. He's obsessed with how this shade compares to others. But this mad doctor's greed is bottomless. He's not even close to done. He clicks his tongue again. Ah no, I definitely need more than this. His eyes glow with a creepy purple light as he screams for Kay to show him his true peak power. Down below, Kay is drowning in monsters. Marine is watching with total anxiety, her heart in her throat. Seeing him struggle like this is rough. This is looking bad, she mutters under her breath. Usually Kay clears mobs like this for breakfast, but not today. Marine starts putting the pieces together. He pushed too hard on the way here, and he's overloaded. If he could just absorb the monster's color, he'd be back at 100%. She needs to buy him a window of time. Suddenly, she spots the ink spilling across the floor. Pay attention to this detail because it's exactly the opening you and I were hoping for. That ink everywhere? Everything is flooded because of Kay's power. Marine's eyes go sharp. I have to use this right now. A plan snaps into place instantly. It's like the life or death crisis just flipped her genius switch. She hacks into the machinery and rips 2 massive power cables apart with everything she's got. High voltage electricity arcs between her hands as she screams for Kay to watch the floor. She slams that current into the liquid, sending a terrifying electrical wave surging across the entire room. The shock travels at lightning speed. The monsters don't even have a second to react before it hits. Marine grits her teeth, focused on roasting every single one of those freaks to a crisp. You could practically smell the monster barbecue. Just like that, the entire horde is completely wiped out. Kay stands tall in the center, sparks still dancing around him. Bling is absolutely fuming over his dead pets. He clicks his tongue in pure annoyance. My precious beasts, they're all dead. Marine screams that it's Kay's turn now, and trust me, you and I won't want to miss what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to witness Kai go beast mode as he channels dark energy into his mechanical arm joints. A thick, oily dark aura erupts from his body, spinning into a lethal black cyclone aimed. Facing that terrifying storm, the crazed doctor doesn't flinch. Instead, he looks like he just won the lottery. His eyes are glued to the surge of raw power, stammering in complete and utter disbelief at the sight. So this is the legendary black energy. Up close, it really is the absolute peak of power. Pointing a finger at Kai, his voice shakes with pure glee. So all those monsters were just snacks for you, weren't they? Lang, totally lost in his own delusions, declares he'll capture every enemy and turn them into his playthings. This is the perfection I've wanted. He inches forward, staring at Kai with a gaze full of sickening greed. This man, just one arm or even a single finger would be enough. Care to share a piece with me? Lang's face sinks into shadow, leaving only a creepy purple eye glowing. I must study that pure darkness. He wants to see its true glory. In response to the creepy rambling, Kai lures forward like a ghost. Trust me, you're going to want to see this. Kai shuts him up with a lethal slash of concentrated dark energy. But even after taking a direct hit, Lang flashes a nasty grin. What a real shame. I am used to these little bumps in the road during research. I guess I'll just have to deal. Lang slides back to a safe distance, casually explaining that he's not really the type for a direct brawl. My methods aren't built for street fighting, so I came prepared. He pulls out 2 glowing high-stakes vials. Vials for emergency use. Lang slams them into his arm, letting the chemicals flood in. The second they hit his system, a wave of purple rot called corrosion starts eating through his arm. The power-up is instant and terrifying, a blatant surge of strength he doesn't even try to hide from Kai. From across the room, Lang grins and shouts, "You know, you and I are basically cut from the same cloth. The way you hunt and steal colors is just like me. We're a match made in heaven, right?" The 2 warriors clash in a brutal melee, sending massive shockwaves and tremors tearing through the entire lab. Lang keeps rambling mid-fight. "Kai, listen to me for just 1 second. We might be trying to kill each other, but we're actually perfect together. Why not just join me? Trying to recruit a guy during a death match. This man is really doing human resources while fighting for his life. Only you understand my work's value. Don't you want to see the true essence behind the miracle of color?" Slapping away Kai's light speed strikes, Lang screams in pure hype. "That absorption power you have is the key. Combining your talent with my research would make us gods. This is the dream I've been chasing forever. You can strip every shade from an enemy and see them raw. The most magnificent thing I've heard." It sounds fancy, but he really just means steal your power. Lang's eyes burn with total greed. He stares at Kai, obsessed. "How does it feel to swallow someone's color? What's that sensation actually like? I'm so jealous. Just give me a little bit, Kai, your color, I just need a tiny taste of it." And here's where it gets wild. Lang lunges like a starving beast, but a green explosion stops him cold. That emerald light blast sends him reeling. The smug smile on the doctor's face vanishes in an instant. Shocked, he stammers as Kai triggers his black screen technique. A massive burst of green energy erupts outward. The power wraps around Kai's mechanical arm. Even the main character is stunned, wondering what the hell just happened. The aftershock of that attack is insane, leaving Lang broken and buried under a pile of heavy rubble. The mad doctor coughs up blood, struggling to breathe, but even while dying he can't stop the praise. "That was way beyond my stats. Honestly, this guy is a total certified stan." The doctor stares at Kai, amazed he can absorb power so effortlessly while in the heat of a brutal fight. Lang finally realizes it doesn't matter what tricks he uses. Kai is just going to eat them all up. Facing a monster with a better version of his own power, the doctor finally starts feeling true dread. "You're too much. At this rate, there's no way for me to win." He's backed into a corner now. "If it's come to this, I'll have to use my final trump card. No more holding anything back. Stick with me." When I are about to see him pull out a vial of thick black liquid, Kay is instantly on guard, asking with a gaze colder than ice, "Just what do you think you're doing?" "Bridge one, right? You and I are about to see just how insane Lang really is," as he bursts into manic laughter. He claims he's just gathering data, then slams that vial of pitch black extract right into his own mechanical arm. He refuses to waste something this precious on anyone else, deciding to use his own body as a test subject. Ignoring the fatal risks, Lang roars with a twisted fever, claiming that even dying would be worth the chance. Suddenly, a blast of dark energy erupts, swallowing his entire frame in a horrifying display. Lang looks absolutely ecstatic, though. The fusion is actually working. He cackles, celebrating the terrifying success as his power levels start to skyrocket. Black fluid starts leaking from his eye, a grim sign of the monstrous energy he just forced into his system. Lang is shaking with pure joy, claiming just a tiny bit of this colored godlike power. His arm transforms into a jagged mass of darkness. Looking at his new mutated, just laughs. "This is incredible." He looks up at Kay, eyes glowing with a sinister light that screams he's lost his mind. Bridge 2. Because Lang warns Kay that even he can't control the beast he just unleashed. It's like drinking a potion without reading the manual. Fire explodes everywhere as their powers clash, tearing the laboratory apart. Lang just keeps laughing, completely thrilled by the destructive shockwaves rocking the entire building. He shouts that you only realize how amazing this power is once you actually start using it. The guy is literally getting thrashed while acting like he's leaving a 5-star review. He desperately tries to recruit Kay. He calls their meeting fate and asks if Kay wants to uncover the dark secrets behind his own unique color. Kay snaps, telling him to shut up. He refuses to be compared to a lowlife like Lang. Lang just sneers, insisting they have so much in common despite what the main character thinks. Is this about Marine? Kay's eyes fill with disgust at the mention of her name by this parasite. He realizes Lang is just a leech who steals from others, someone who could never understand a true identity. Lang taunts him further, claiming that Kay's true nature is nothing but a hollow, rotten void that he actually admires. He digs into Kay's past, accusing him of always being hungry to steal the colors of everyone around him. He claims Kay is just a man who'll do anything to get what he wants, no matter the cost. Lang even fakes some sympathy, acting like he's the only one who truly accepts for who he is. But while the doctor is lost in his own twisted speech, something completely unexpected flies through the air. A wrench smacks him right in the face. Lang stumbles back, yelping in pain as his monologue is cut short. "Bridge, you saw that too, right?" Marine appears from above, swinging a massive hammer and looking absolutely furious. She screams that she's done listening to his garbage. Who does he think he is, acting like he knows Kay? They barely knew each other as kids. Marine gets right in his face, shouting that they aren't close at all. She calls him a perverted lunatic who sees people as objects. How dare he compare himself to Kay? She declares that Kay is just himself. He isn't some cheap copy or an imitation of anyone else. Kay is always fighting to be better. Marine grits her teeth, telling the doctor to shut his mouth about Kay's struggles. She remembers them as children, back when Kay was just a sweet boy smiling by her side. Marine starts to choke up, insisting he was just a bit different, but otherwise a completely normal kid. She is literally having a dramatic flashback right in the middle of a war zone, then she just snaps. She screams at him for judging Kay, then starts hurling a barrage of wrenches with her hammer mid-swing. She unloads every insult in the book, calling him a cold-blooded murderer and a total piece of trash. Standing behind her, Kay looks stunned, his heart clearly softened seeing her defend him with such fierce loyalty. Kay gives a small, rare smile before blurring forward. He grabs Lang before the Mad Doctor can even react. A massive explosion of dark energy erupts, blowing everything back as screams in utter shock. Seeing this new surge of power, the Doctor is terrified but also creepily excited by the raw display. He can't believe Kay's output is still rising. Through the thick smoke, calls out to Marine. He gives her a gentle, sincere smile and thanks her. Then he lunges forward with incredible speed. Bridge 4, and trust me, you just watch Lang get sent flying by the most satisfying punch ever. Alright, you and I are about to witness the brutal end of a villain who pushed way too far. No, I went past my body's breaking point, he croaked in total despair. So this is Kay. Kay stood there like a grim reaper, his killer instinct suffocating everyone. He channeled every ounce of power. He unleashed a lethal overhead strike. If there was a health bar on screen, it just hit -1 million. A massive explosion rocked the room as Kay slammed Lang into the dirt, leaving nothing but a massive crater. Cracks spiderwebbed across the lab. That insane level of destruction would make anyone's blood run cold. As the smoke slowly drifted away, Kay stood tall and untouched in the middle of the wreckage. Marine sprinted over, screaming his name. She checked him for injuries, asking if he was actually still okay. Kay gave a small nod. Yeah, totally fine. They both stared down at the broken doctor. He was just a lump of meat at their feet. Marine asked again, still totally stunned. Lang is done for, right? Kay looked at his helpless enemy with a cold, unwavering stare. He's barely breathing, Kay thought. It's time to sever this cursed bond between us forever. Standing over his dying foe, Kay gripped his weapon tight, making a final vow to himself. I can't leave any loose ends. If he survives, he'll just go back to his sick, twisted games. Now pay attention, because what this villain does next is actually insane. He's not done yet. Lang forced himself up, coughing out a jagged laugh. His eyes glowed with a terrifying, unnatural light. I guess I can't beat you with this junk power after all, he muttered. What a total waste. His face was a mess of scars, but that creepy grin wouldn't fade. If I had your colors, things would be different. I'd do anything to steal your power. Suddenly, massive explosions started ripping the entire laboratory apart. Flames burst out and concrete flew everywhere. Kay and Marine stood there in absolute shock. As the ceiling gave way, Kay lunged forward to protect Marine from the falling debris. Marine screamed in terror. Lang's voice echoed through the fire, boasting about planting explosive color inks everywhere. He laughed through the chaos. Communication is dead and the entire base is a war zone now. The guys upstairs hit the self-destruct to bury all the evidence. Everything is blowing up. A chain reaction of blast tore through the underground facility, vaporizing everything in its path. Lang shrieked like a maniac. Whatever, this is my last shot anyway. I'll destroy it all. Suddenly, the ground vanished. Kay and Marine were sent screaming into a pitch-black abyss. Falling through the air amidst shattered pillars, Kay reached out his hand into the darkness. He yelled for his small friend Nero, then Kay slammed into a pool of thick black liquid. He fought his way to the surface, gasping for air surrounded by that oily, terrifying sludge. You and I both know that ink isn't just regular liquid, it's something way more dangerous. Then the horror hit him. It's the toxic runoff from the extraction room, all collected right here. Panic flooded his face as he realized the danger. If this is waste, then Marine is in trouble. Suddenly, Marine's figure appeared in the ink, struggling to stay above the surface. She was fighting hard, her face covered in ink, sobbing his name with every breath. Kay roared her name. He tried to swim toward her, but the current was way too fast. Marine slowly vanished into the deep. Kay screamed as only air bubbles remained. She was completely gone, swallowed by the dark water. Without thinking, Kay dove straight under. Deep in the abyss, Marine's body gave off a faint glow. As she drifted further away, Kay pushed harder. Faster, I have to be faster. A desperate, crazy plan formed in his... I should just absorb all this ink right now. But he stopped. It would take way too long. Marine would drown before I finished. Kay's eyes went wide as his hand barely missed her. Floating in the crushing darkness, a cold, bitter thought began to take over. Is it already over? Deep down, he knew the moment they fell, saving her might be impossible. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are diving into a moment where everything is on the line. Look at that spark. Kay knew if he let go of that glow now, it was gone forever. His eyes flared with determination. The terror of losing his world completely consumed him. Could he really let this happen? Doubt screamed in his head as Kay hit rock bottom. He thrust Kishful or brute her lord. Once was already too many times, gnashed his teeth, channeling every ounce of his soul into this. I will never give up. Suddenly, a rush of beautiful childhood memories hit him like a physical wave. He saw two kids huddled over a map by a lamp and all those simple moments they shared, playfully pinching each other's cheeks. The memories were crystal clear, acting like a shot of adrenaline to his heart. Kay plummeted into the dark void like a black arrow. Through the storm, his metal fingers reached out. He snatched Marie's hand right before the shadows ate her whole, pulling her into a protective hug. Pay attention here because this is where the heartbreak sets in. Don't die, please don't die, he screamed. His voice cracked from agony. You promised to stay until I became a colorist. In this one critical moment, Marie's gentle words from the past echoed again. I believe we all have internal light and colors, even you. It's not that you can't feel them, you're just learning. Her words were meant to heal, but they stung. Hearing them now, the pain in his chest doubled. He pictured a young Marie grinning and cheering him on. Just learn a little at a time, I'll help you. Just do whatever makes you happy, she had said. Kay whispered to himself. Her words mirrored Lumien's, which is exactly why he'd carved them into his soul. Marie, you were totally right. He thought back to their brutal journey after escaping the underground city. Facing constant hate, she was the one who showed him that everyone they met carried a unique glow. If I had been all alone, I never would have seen any of this. Kay realized this as he replayed every single day spent by her side. Working in Marie's shop without her, he would have been hopelessly lost in a void of nothingness forever. He never would have known real joy, but finally he saw the whole truth of his life. He understood everything now, but the price for this clarity was just too much to bear. If Lumien lit the power, the reason I keep walking it, Kay stared into her pale face. This was the girl he swore to protect, and his gaze promised he would never let her go again. So please, just cruel reality, he held her close. He howled into the gloom. You promised. Suddenly a vision of two kids walking toward the light flashed. The memory made the sting even worse. Kay looked at the girl in his arms in frozen shock. Marie? His voice trembled, set in. He realized she wasn't breathing, not at all. His mind stalled. His heart couldn't accept this sudden game over. Regret and shock twisted his entire face. He blamed himself. Why? In his darkest hour, a miracle struck. But wait, did you see that? A strange speck of light suddenly flared from Marie's chest. Could it be that inner power? He saw her smiling, her heart radiating light. That vision sparked a new resolve. He had to release this light no matter what it cost. Kay shoved his fear aside. I can do this. He gripped Marie's cold, lifeless hand. Concentrating everything, he told himself he'd save her just like he always does. He wasn't failing. A massive torrent of light exploded. It erupted from Marie's body, swallowing both of them in a flap. Kay was stunned by the energy. What is this? It was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. This wasn't like absorbing colors. Within the brilliance, he finally began to understand her unique light. Oh, that's it. Realized this was the purest power, sleeping deep inside his best friend's soul. Pure joy, warmth, and hope crystallized into a dazzling beam that absolutely shattered the surrounding darkness. Kay was moved to tears. He'd finally touched her true essence, the light Marie had carried all along. He nodded, confirming what he always knew. It's because she's Marie that this light is so incredibly brilliant. That's why we stay to witness a golden radiance that's changing the world right now. Alright, stick with me because we're about to see Marie wake up with eyes blazing in pure gold. Kay is totally stunned by how radiant she looks. He can barely find the words, shouting, Marie. Seeing her breathe again, Kay finally exhales in relief. Thank goodness you're actually awake, he says. Marie is still out of it. She touches her neck and whispers to herself, what happened to me? She remembers falling into that pit of black ink, but as she looks at her hands, she just completely freezes. Watch closely, because her reaction here is heartbreaking. What is this? She screams in terror. Why am I this color? She's panicking, grabbing her now brilliant yellow hair as Kay tries to calm her down. It's okay, Marie, just breathe. Are you hurt? Still shaking, she manages a weak, I'm okay. Kay looks at the surrounding ruins. I know you're confused, but we have to move before this place collapses. You and I both know that sound. A massive wall section suddenly comes crashing down above. As the dust clears, on a high ledge Marie and Kay both cry out his name. Next to him an unfamiliar guy lets out a sigh of relief. I heard it was an emergency and rushed over. Camellia is right there too, casually asking what's going on. It seems everyone is finally safe for now. Trust me, you're going to want to see what happens when they finally reach the top. But that's it for today. Don't forget to hit that like button so Gao can bring you more. Thanks for watching and see ya.